ground, literally, in Santa Clara, California yesterday. He will join us for the second half of the show to give his thoughts on what he saw from the practice field yesterday against the 49ers. We recap the joint practice with sound, with reaction, with words from journalists who were there. And Rhett Bryant will be here as well at 7 a.m., plus Brent Hubbs at 9:20 for a little Wednesday visit with our good friend from VolQuest who typically joins us on Fridays. He is Justin Hawkins. I'm Will Bowling. On this Wednesday, August the 12th, we are so close to the Tennessee Titans playing a football game. Good morning.
Good morning. We can just smell it. We can breathe it. The air is now crisper, maybe a little more chippy as well.
It's a little humid here, so I wouldn't say crisp yet, but I would like for it to be.
It is very humid, isn't it?
It's awful. It's absolutely terrible. Mother Nature gave us like 95-degree weather when football starts. Well, but who knows what it's like in Central California? I'll let you know today.
That's true. But if you would like to cool off, you can step inside my studio for a little bit of fresh air. It is freezing.
Is it?
It's always cold in here.
See, you and Ramon always say that, and I feel like maybe I just am always keeping rooms and indoor areas way colder than I should because I feel like it's too hot in here.
Oh, yeah. See, I pretty much wear a jacket every day because there's some kind of fresh air or blowing air somewhere. I don't know. I'm always cold in here. It's ridiculous. I don't know the last time I just wore a T-shirt.
Interesting. Well, maybe that's what the Titans and 49ers needed yesterday because things were a little spicy between Tennessee and San Francisco yesterday. Robert Saleh speaking to the media at the very beginning of his post-practice press conference talking about things getting a little bit heated yesterday between the Titans and Niners.
No, we were, that's always going to get heated and felt like both teams conducting themselves the way they needed to. I think there was a lot of great tape to watch, but it was a productive day.
Robert Saleh admittedly not watching a whole lot of the offense, giving his total takeaway on what he saw from the defense and, at this point, what he had heard about the offense.
I was with the defense the entire time. We'll see what the offense looked like. Heard it went pretty well. And there's, like I said, a lot of great things to look at. Felt like there was a lot of back and forth in terms of some good, some bad, but definitely things that we can learn from.
So, from all accounts and reports, again, I was not there. Ramon was, and he will join us later in the show. Until then, we will read you reports of what was written from practice and the overall takeaways for writers like Jim Wyatt and Nick Suss. The 49ers appeared to have won the day yesterday. Now, I think what Robert Saleh says today was a successful day. It's not about winning or losing one practice. It is about what you can learn and what you can glean from one practice and lessons that you are going to learn a bit more intensely when you are playing against someone else that doesn't know your tendencies and is just coming after you a little bit. Jim Wyatt of TennesseeTitans.com had Cam Ward 16 of 23 with an interception. Here's the good from Jim Wyatt, senior writer and editor at TennesseeTitans.com. Cam Ward completed his first 5 passes, and he was good in a red zone period when he connected with Calvin Ridley and Tony Pollard for touchdowns near the goal line. Here's the not so good. But again, Ward missed some throws, and his interception was a ball that was behind Wan'Dale Robinson. A Hail Mary pass fell incomplete in the final period of practice when the Titans got the ball, down 25-21 with 50 seconds left, but failed to score. One issue that troubled Cam Ward and the offense was the offensive line's inability to protect at times. He writes, there were 49ers in the face of Titans quarterbacks on several occasions in practice as the team worked through a number of different combinations for one reason or another. Nick Suss, writing this at Tennessean.com, Ward was erratic, admitting he missed a couple of potential explosive throws targeted for Carnell Tate and also missed Calvin Ridley on a scramble drill. The offensive line struggled through a tough stretch of plays in a move-the-ball team period, especially after left tackle Dan Moore Jr. was ejected for throwing a punch, and the stretch culminated in a Ward interception. Austin Deculus also thrown out for throwing a punch yesterday. Justin, how concerning is it to you that San Francisco was able to pressure Cam Ward so much with largely the same defense as last year and still no Nick Bosa, a defense that was near the bottom of the league in pressures and sacks last season?
Yeah, it's not good. It's not a good sign. It's not a good thought to have. I don't know how much, when was Dan Moore and Austin Deculus ejected in practice? Was it after they've gotten all these sacks? Was it before? Were they on the field during this time? I think for me, it seemed like some of the Titans' offensive players couldn't really keep their heads yesterday. We talked last week about Jeffrey Simmons throwing a punch. You just can't have this. You need to have your best players on the field. You need to have a good day of practice because you're putting on tape, right? Whether you win the battle, whether you lose the battle, there's always something to learn, but there's one thing you can't learn from if there's no tape. So yesterday, it didn't feel like there was a good cohesion against the offensive line, against the offensive players, because it just didn't seem like everybody was keeping their cool. They were trying to get under their skin. It didn't seem very cohesive in that manner. Not a good day.
I will reserve judgment, and I'll reserve kind of agreeing or disagreeing with you until we hear from Ramon later in the show. I think, I don't want to speak for him, but from the conversations we had offline yesterday, it seemed like he wasn't nearly as worried as what a lot of the public perception and some of the reports were that were out there. And Ramon is going to come with a different perspective as a player who, again, like Robert Saleh, is going to view this as a good day, whether or not you really won the day or not. It's not about winning in joint practice on August 11th. Now, you would have liked to. You would have liked to show a better version of yourself. And I imagine if you're Brian Daboll, you would have liked for your quarterback to be a bit more protected. But the work is a good day. And just being out there and getting the work. And really, I guess that maybe applies to everyone but Austin Deculus and Dan Moore, who weren't there for a full day of work. Just the fact that you were there is a good thing in and of itself. So I'm not going to have a super strong take on this, A, because I wasn't there, and B, because we haven't spoken to Ramon yet, even though I have a good bit off air. But I do think it is a sign of something that we did already know. This offensive line remains a very big work in progress. And it may take 3 preseason games and full contact and everything being live for them to show those steps that we need to see. It may take 5 or 6 regular season games, maybe, unfortunately, even more than that, for this offensive line to truly become what it can become this season. But for now, it is a sign that there is still a lot of work to be put in up front, especially to that point against a San Francisco defensive front that was not particularly good at getting after the quarterback last season.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend like I know more about the offensive line play and what all went into kind of the stunts and the packages that they're presenting yesterday and how much of the actual calls that they're going to work on this season yesterday and how much they failed to block in front of Cam Ward, how much Cam Ward was not settled into the pocket. I'm not going to pretend to know all that because we weren't there. It's troubling to find that these issues are persisting, especially when we know that the major battle is on the right side with the right guard, but yet we're having problems across the whole entire offensive line instead of one particular position.
Does that surprise you?
What surprises me is more that this is the 3rd or 4th consecutive season that we're still having these issues.
Well, yeah.
But then again, no, it doesn't surprise me because it has been the 4th consecutive season that it's happened. It's just, you think at some point you would fix this and you would find ways to garner some help, whether it be pulling some tight ends and doubling down on some of these edge rushers. And I'm not quite sure.
Well, that's fair. I mean, look,
it's just not quite sure.
It's hard for us to know without being there, first and foremost, who had a bad day and who individually was causing some of this pressure. That being said, they chose the best option they had a year ago when they signed Dan Moore Jr. at left tackle.
Right.
A player who I believe is a league average left tackle. You could do a lot worse. I do also think you could do better, but the way that you do better than Dan Moore is by taking your lumps and drafting a left tackle early in the first round. Well, in that case, we're taking away Cardell Tate. In that case, we're taking away a number of different options. Obviously, Fibio Ladejo is still early and had a season taken from him for injury last season, so it's too early to say they could have just done that in the second round instead. But again, you look at like second round tackles too, and Ariante Ursary is going to be the left tackle in Houston this year. Major questions there about whether or not he, as a second round pick tackle in year 2, can step up and adequately protect C.J. Stroud. So however you spin it, it was either going to take 3 or 4 years to draft a tackle that you feel somewhat comfortable with, who is below league average, who at this point, let's say they drafted one in the second round last year, is still a major problem spot. Or you could go with the short-term solution, which is a player who I think is marginally better than a lot of those options available to you for Cam Ward's first 2 to 3 seasons, and Dan Moore. So, yeah, it doesn't mean that things are good, doesn't mean things are great by any stretch of the imagination, but things I think are as good as they can be at left tackle, considering the realistic options that you had for you.
Right. That's kind of like the Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow effect of drafting the receiver over the tackle or the offensive lineman. Yeah, I mean, PFF, which is we take PFF with a grain of salt a little bit, but they gave Dan Moore Jr. with 8 sacks allowed last season.
Yeah.
From your starting left tackle that you're paying, what, 21 million to 22 million to per year, you don't want 8 million or 8 sacks a season. You're just going to have to find ways to use Daniel Bellinger, Gunnar Helm, Kylan Granson, find ways to chip and help block on these right and left tackle spots.
That's true. That's where we're at this point. So we'll see. I mean, interested to see how things go on Thursday night. Obviously now, and again, you get so vanilla in scheme that maybe for starters, this was the bigger day. And for other players on the roster, in my opinion, that Thursday is the bigger day. Kind of depends on who you are. I'm going to comment on YouTube that says, everyone was so optimistic a couple days ago. Now, after seeing the team scrimmage one day against the Niners, it seems like we're doomed. Neither of those were ever really a real glimpse into this football team, though, right? One scrimmage that goes well for Cam Ward doesn't automatically mean they're going to win 9 games. And one sloppy day after a long day of travel against a team who knows your tendencies and knows your system on defense can attack you on their home field. Like, I don't think in training camp on the positive end or the negative end, we should ever get too high or low.
Yeah.
All of this is a process, and every team has a different process in training camp to either set themselves up for success, to make everybody feel good about themselves, or sometimes failure, to set themselves up for a really difficult day that you learn from by the time September comes around. So to that idea, I would say, in the words of Dave McGinnis, powder dry.
Yeah. I mean, look, this is practice at the end of the day. Nobody won or lost yesterday. Nothing went on the score sheet. You're 0-0. You haven't even played a preseason game yet. This is more about putting tape on there, see where you can improve. And you've been going against your own teammates, your own colors, your own team, your uniform. Now you've gone against some opposition. You've gone against the 49ers in San Francisco, in California, whether it be your own training facility or not your training facility. Things have been different. You're a little bit uncomfortable. It's about just putting yourself to be uncomfortable, because that's what they're trying to do for practice. They're trying to make you uncomfortable to try to get the best out of you so that by the time the season comes, a little bit easier, a little bit more comfortable.
Very scrappy day yesterday between the Titans and 49ers. Jim Wyatt says after rookie Carnell Tate got hit hard on the sideline by 49ers corner Renardo Green, Ward sprinted to the scene, Cam Ward obviously, to defend Carnell Tate while players from both teams gathered for a lot of pushing and shoving. Coaches did their best to remind Ward to stay calm before and during the practice. And while he never lost his cool, the incident alone showed he is not about to back down. There were several scraps out of the gates, Jim Wyatt says. There was pushing and shoving after a Pollard run on play number 1, and there were at least mini scraps on 3 of the first 4 plays and 4 of the first 6. Titans tackle Austin Deculus was ejected on the first series. Dan Moore joined him in the locker room later after getting ejected. The jawing never stopped, Jim Wyatt says, but cooler heads eventually prevailed and the two teams got some quality work in. I'll be honest, the scraps and the skirmish thing doesn't really interest me a whole lot because it's just a given. It's so common in joint practices that I feel like it can kind of go without saying, hey, there were some fights. All right, anyway, let's talk about what football and what work got done. But this felt like a maybe bit more than the normal amount of skirmishes that the Titans have at a normal, even joint practice with another team. And I'm interested to get Ramon's thoughts on that later as well. There is one big positive to yesterday's joint practice work for the Tennessee Titans that I thought Robert Saleh explained in an interesting way yesterday. And we'll talk about that coming up next. Footballing Justin Hawkins, Ramon joining us later in the show. Ramon and Will on 104.5 The Zone.
Get ready for one epic engagement ring event at Genesis Diamonds. You can mark your calendar, okay? August 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. For these 3 days, Genesis is bringing in the entire collection of both Tacori and Viraggio, the two most sought-after bridal designers in the world. Hundreds and hundreds of rings, all new styles, and during this once-a-year event, you can get a special incentive and save up to $5,000. And you know the names, Viraggio, handcrafted by true artisans and unmatched attention to detail. And Tacori, exquisite rings known for their hidden detail and timeless beauty. These are the finest American-made rings, distinctive, stylish, and handmade. Other jewelers are not even allowed to carry these premium brands, but Genesis has them, and we'll be showcasing the entire collection at this event. Genesis is also bringing in a fresh selection of GI-certified diamonds in every shape and size, direct from the cutters, so you can create your perfect ring from the ground up. Enjoy special event savings, incentives, 0% interest financing up to $5,000 in savings. It's 3 days only, August 21st through the 23rd. They're located in Green Hills and Cool Springs.
There is one big positive that came out of yesterday's joint practice between the Tennessee Titans and San Francisco 49ers, and Robert Saleh laid it out perfectly yesterday. As Ramon Will continues, in studio this morning, Rhett Bryan will be here in a half hour to help us preview Titans and 49ers on Thursday night, tomorrow night, from Santa Clara, California. It snuck up on us just a little bit. Robert Saleh on Kyle Shanahan and his knowledge of the Tennessee Titans defensive system. I thought this was interesting and honestly feels like the reason why the Tennessee Titans had a joint practice and a preseason game with the San Francisco 49ers.
Like I said, this offense, Kyle and his staff, they know every single flaw or every weakness to our scheme. They've been going against it for the last 10 years. So it was really good to get a lot of the route concepts that we need to help teach the principles of our defense. And it'll start making sense to our guys, hopefully, and in terms of how it evolved and how we got to where we are, from a teaching standpoint. And, so, anytime you get exposed to, tape and new systems and new bodies that you're going against, which is why I value these inter-squad joint practices so much. You're going to learn something from it rather than the redundancy of playing against your own team versus same schemes over and over again. So these days, to me, are gold if you can handle it the right way, and I think our guys did.
Robert Saleh speaking post-practice yesterday. So there is a positive and a negative to this. Here's the positive. You got good work in against someone who knows your system really well. Honestly, it feels like the whole reason why this entire week is happening. I could see Robert Saleh putting together a schedule for this preseason and this first week, saying, all right, who can we go against that's going to give us a little bit of a wake-up call? Who knows how to exploit us? Who knows how to attack us? Clearly, the guy who's practiced against his defense for 5 years together, and beyond that, really, in different stops and the same staff as well. So that's the positive. The negative is that Kyle Shanahan is not the only offensive coach who runs this kind of system and will have ways to exploit the Titans' defensive scheme. Because obviously half the league is running some offshoot of the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree and system. So the positive is that you got your wake-up call saying, hey guys, like what most of the league is running is going to be able to attack us and exploit some of the weaknesses within our system. That's the good news, is that you maybe get that wake-up call. Now, the bad news is that half of the league is going to run the Kyle Shanahan system.
At least how you find your weaknesses.
Sure. I'm curious to ask Ramon more about that, of what specifically in the Shanahan system is going to be tough for a solid defense to go up against. Because clearly, especially, I think even more so maybe than what we read and heard about the Titans offense versus the San Francisco defense, it felt like Brock Purdy and the 49ers passing game really did get the best of the Titans defense yesterday.
Yeah, several touchdowns in the one-on-one periods, and I think that was kind of the big consensus, was the cornerback room was not necessarily a letdown, but kind of a letdown yesterday.
Nick Suss wrote about that at the Tennessean, and these were his words at Tennessean.com. If there's one thing causing me, speaking for Nick Suss, concern coming out of this practice, it's the starting secondary. 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy had no trouble finding receivers downfield, carving up the new-look cornerback duo of Alontae Taylor and Cordell Flott, and pretty easily navigating the ball around safety Amani Hooker, who seemed to have a rough day. Even when the field shrunk in red zone drills, the first-line defensive backs allowed a pair of passing touchdowns, one on an in-breaking route to a receiver and the other on an out-breaking route to a tight end, and two more easy pitch-and-catch completions for first downs. The Niners' downfield success, he adds, came on passes to guys like DeMarcus Robinson and rookie Dejon Stribling. The Titans did not invest all this free agent money in Taylor and Flott or in an extension to Hooker for them to struggle in coverage against number 3 targets. That was Nick Suss speaking yesterday at Tennessean.com. Now, the context here, John Franklin Myers did not practice, Edge rusher Jacob Martin left early with what Robert Saleh called a knee injury. And talking to Ramon a little bit yesterday, won't put words in his mouth, but he seemed to believe there were also some plays that he thought would have been sacks that then turned into completions to Demarcus Robinson and to Deshaun Stripling. You can take that however you want it. You can take that as, well, full contact, everything's live. Defensive line is the strength of the team. I'm not as worried about this. When you get John Franklin Myers back healthy, he's expected to be back next week, and you could take the quarterback to the ground. Or you could take it as, hey, if the ball's in the air, we're paying these defensive backs enough, they need to go make a play regardless of whether or not it would have been a sack.
Yeah, and that's kind of what Ramon said the other day, too, is it doesn't matter if there's a sack or not. The whistle's not blown. If the ball's in the air, if it's live, you're still expected to cover your guy. And if you're not covering your guy, whether it be a 1, a 2, or a 3 wide receiver, your job is still to cover the ball. And they struggled yesterday. I think, like you said, there's a positive and there's negatives. The positives are you get this tape on, and now both your offense and defense can work on that. You can go up against each other in practice. Like Robert Saleh just said, it's redundancy in practice. Now you kind of get out of that kind of monotony. And I think it's a good thing at the end of the day because you're still getting good work, whether it looks good or whether it looks bad.
You hope that it ends up being that, for sure.
Yeah, you should.
That you learn from this and you get better from it. So I think the big headline is 49ers had a cleaner and better day overall. Brock Purdy was really good without his top 2 weapons against a Titans cornerback room that you think should have looked a little better. There were a lot of skirmishes, and Cam Ward was fine. That's what I take away. I'll start with Ramon at 8 o'clock and say all those words and say, tell me where I'm right or wrong based off of what you saw. And obviously he will have a lot of takes and has texted me a lot of takes already yesterday. Not this morning yet. If he was texting me this morning, we would just probably throw him on air. But we will get to that point this morning. I did think this was interesting, though. Robert Saleh talking about Fernando Carmona. A couple of answers here from the head coach of the Titans. As Fernando Carmona, the player that Ramon and I both agreed yesterday is the guy with the most to gain this week in San Francisco, continues to get a closer look in the right guard competition.
You got to earn it to be able to get in there. He's been doing a nice job. But like I said, with that right guard spot, we're going to keep working to try to find the best player for it.
That was Robert Saleh yesterday. Doing a nice job. Earning more opportunities. I'm not putting it past Fernando Carmona, Justin, to potentially start out of camp.
Yeah, no, it kind of seems that way, right?
I'm not going to guarantee it. I think it's very far from a reality, and I think it's still a safe bet to assume that Cordell Volson is a starter, but I don't think they have any clue.
Right. I mean, he's
who's going to start at right guard.
He's got the experience, but Carmona's got the intangibles of what you want in camp. It's a rookie 5th-round draft pick who's trying to prove himself, and he's proven himself. He's giving the opportunities because he's going against a veteran that's really not had a lot of success in this league. So it kind of goes hand in hand, and you get your opportunities, and when you get your licks, you go at it, right?
Absolutely. And you hope it brings out a better version of Cordell Volson. It's the age-old cliche. It's also a proverb. It's an age-old because it's literally in the Bible of iron sharpens iron.
Exactly.
So the competition here from Fernando Carmona should, in theory, give a little bit of a kick to Cordell Volson to step things up a little bit. That's obviously what you want this time of year. Injury updates yesterday from Robert Saleh. He updated the status of Jacob Martin, Cordell Flott, and John Franklin Myers as he spoke post-practice.
Yeah, Jake Martin, we're gonna get looked at for a knee. Flott had we just held him out, more precaution than anything. He had a bruise. JFM, we're hopeful to get back next week.
Okay, fine by me. On John Franklin Myers, and I do think, like, I'm not going to make excuses and excuse a bad day yesterday for the Titans defense. There are some concerns, no question, and I think there are teachable moments that clearly came out of this practice for the secondary. But John Franklin Myers was the biggest addition that this defense made over the offseason. The entire foundation of our belief that the Titans could be pretty good on defense this year starts with the fact that John Franklin Myers will be playing next to Jeffrey Simmons. So get him back. Let's see what things look like. You do have more joint practices coming up.
Yeah, they've invested a lot. Him with the trade for Jermaine Johnson, you spent a lot of capital, whether it be in the draft, whether it be in free agency. You just expect them, whether these three players are on the field or not, you still have other players that are trying to get some work, and you want some success out of them. You brought in Solomon Thomas. Where is he in this? You're not hearing him having a lot of name.
Well, he's backup.
He is, but if JFM is out, who takes his spot? Right?
Yeah, he does. So, but we know what Solomon Thomas is at this point. Like, he's a solid veteran rotational defensive lineman who knows the system and can play some snaps. You feel like he's not going to be a total liability, but he's not going to totally wow you either.
And we know that this is going to be a heavy rotation on defense and that front line there. It's just when one guy goes out, it's the next man up mentality. And I think that's exactly what Robert Saleh has brought to this team. And I'm just curious to see how that actually plays into a real game versus practice when you don't really get to hear a lot of people. And I'm curious to your thoughts, too, is I feel like there's been a little bit of confusion with Titans media versus 49ers media and who actually won the day. If you go to some of the 49ers media outlets and they will talk more highly about the Titans offensive defense than kind of our own media outlets have, and vice versa.
I did not see that. Where anyone specifically you can...
Yeah, let me go find his name.
You can said that because I did not see that yesterday. Yeah. Nick Wagner, who has been on the show, ESPN NFL Nation writer covering the San Francisco 49ers, had this to say. He said, one thing the Titans will need to correct is the penalties. It had to drive Robert Saleh and Gus Bradley crazy, seeing the number of flags on their guys today for offside, defensive pass interference, and holding. I counted, Nick Wagner speaking here, of ESPN, 8 flags on them throughout the practice. The last of which was a defensive pass interference and 2-minute drill to give the Niners a first down at the 1. There were multiple false starts as well on the Titans offense at the end of practice from what I read during a 2-minute period.
Yeah, so there were some comments from Dave Lombardi. He was making some comments. Easton Freeze was kind of coming back and forth about how maybe some of the 49ers players and on their defense kind of didn't like the Robert Saleh system and how they played.
I did see that.
There was just some other comments that I'm failing to find right now. So
yeah, I didn't see anybody yesterday who said that Titans were better.
I can't remember exactly the name. That's bad on me. I'll find it in the break.
Okay. Ted Wynn, I know, had some positive things to say. And look, like, again, even if they did lose the day against the 49ers in a joint practice, it's a pretty good team. Like, this is not some upstart team that is expected to not be very good. I know they have injuries, but this is still the San Francisco 49ers. Like, this is a winning organization who has built what the Titans are in progress trying to build. As I said earlier in the show, don't get too high or too low this time of year. It is a process. The fact that they got work against a coach and a system that knows how to beat them is important. That in and of itself is a win this time of year. Easton Freeze had asked this question to Gus Bradley earlier in camp, and I think it's a really good one because we make out so much of the defensive scheme and system to be, this is such a great attack, violent, get downhill. Like, this system is going to make everybody better. And I do believe that is the case. There is also conventional wisdom that tells you if it was a perfect system, everyone would be running it, right? So every single defense has some sort of flaw in it. Every single scheme. There are some defensive coaches, I imagine, would tell you that there are offensive plays and systems that have a flaw, that have something that you can do to beat it. It is the chess match that these coaches are playing all the time. So Easton had asked Gus Bradley, hey, like, why doesn't everyone run this scheme? How do you attack your defense? Gus Bradley obviously is not going to give away state secrets and tell offensive coordinators, hello, my name is Gus Bradley. Here's how you beat us. But the obvious parts of this are the misdirection, the motion, the timing that gets attack-minded defenders running in the wrong direction and blocking and protecting for your quarterback long enough to then throw or run in the other direction. That seems pretty simple. Secondly, it's the screen game. I'm curious to talk to Ramon about that later as well. How much of this was screens, quick timing things that Brock Purdy has practiced and has perfected over the course of his career. And it is something that I think we will see a lot against this Titans defense this year. As quick as their first step is and as vertical as they want to be, as attack-minded as they want to be on everything, you are going to see teams try to throw screen after screen after screen against this Tennessee Titans defense. And again, that is the positive in getting work yesterday against the San Francisco 49ers. Seeing a system and a head coach and play caller who knows how to beat your system and find its weaknesses. 615-737-1045 is our number. Kyler Murray is the new starter in Minnesota. I am not as high on his ability to have success there as many others are. I'll explain why coming up next. Will Bowling, Justin Hawkins, Ramon Will, 1045 The Zone. Now, this is kind of foul, Justin. As we talk about Kyler Murray, the quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings. Did you do this on purpose?
I sure did.
Of course you did.
I wanted to join in on the memes.
Oh, my goodness.
I've heard he's had a press conference, but he just can't reach the mic.
No. We're height shaming before 7 a.m. under Ramon and Will this morning. So Kyler Murray is going to be the starting quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings, and there are a lot of people who are very high on this.
I see what you did there.
I think their chances are a little bit shorter of making the playoffs than a lot of other folks do.
Keep going. These are nice.
Listen. So Kyler Murray is going to be the starting quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings. He is the new man on the Minnesota Vikings, as Lizzo would say. Kevin Seifert of ESPN writes a big piece about this at ESPN.com, saying he's demonstrated this spring that he had recovered from a foot injury that limited him last season. And from that point on, it was clear his talent level represented a formidable obstacle for Vikings incumbent J.J. McCarthy. Obviously, when you fire the GM who drafted that quarterback, because that quarterback has performed the way that he has, typically it's not a great sign for said quarterback continuing to get the chance to play with his friends. So it's their fourth starting quarterback in 4 years in Minnesota. That's remarkable at the NFL level. Kirk Cousins, Sam Darnold, J.J. McCarthy, and Kyler Murray. So here's where Kevin O'Connell made the first mistake. He acknowledged yesterday to the media his plan had always been to make a decision about 9 or 10 practices into training camp to allow time for whoever the starter is and the offense to come together before the regular season begins. At least publicly, Kevin O'Connell kind of boxed himself in a little bit into making a decision within this timeline. But here is where I would be worried if I was a Minnesota Vikings fan. Kyler Murray doesn't really take snaps under center and hasn't in his football life. Kevin O'Connell's system is significantly weighted toward putting the quarterback under center. Now, that's not to say that can't change. They could adjust into pistol, into shotgun, but I am curious how much of what Kyler Murray does really overlaps with how much Kevin O'Connell and his offense does well. And I think there is a really interesting marriage that's going to happen here between a quarterback that is used to a very different way of playing offense, at least from the way I understand it. Statistically, they have been experimenting with more shotgun and pistol plays, according to Kevin Seifert of ESPN, who says last season they spent the third most time under center during Kevin O'Connell's first 4 seasons in Minnesota, 47%. During Kyler Murray's time with the Arizona Cardinals, the team was under center at the league's third lowest rate at 18.3%. Kevin Seifert also says that Kyler Murray has not been great in the practices leading up to this decision being announced, which A, tells you that, again, Kevin O'Connell kind of boxed himself into this timeline, and B, that Kyler Murray was always going to win this battle. There's very little doubt. The second that Kyler Murray became a Minnesota Viking, that he was going to be the starter. Kevin Seifert says Murray has displayed superior arm talent, but in team drills during full pad practices when pass rushers are active, Murray has not always appeared to see whether receivers are open in the middle of the field. That will no doubt be a focus during the coming weeks. I don't think just because Kyler Murray has played before and has experience, and Kevin O'Connell is known for setting quarterbacks up for success and getting the most out of what he's given, I don't think that automatically just means that the Vikings are an 11-win team.
No.
What I think is happening is that we are still underestimating how good Sam Darnold is at football. And I think even still, with the Super Bowl championship that Sam Darnold and the Seattle Seahawks won last year, we are still saying, wow, Kevin O'Connell, he really got the most out of that Darnold guy. Darnold, he's just kind of a retread. He's not very good, but look at what Kevin O'Connell did with him. I think the narrative now needs to become, hey, Sam Darnold is so good that he had his team at the top of the NFC 2 years in a row, winning the Super Bowl another year, and helped turn Jackson Smith-Njigba into a record-breaking elite wide receiver one. Jackson Smith-Njigba wasn't close to what he was last year before Sam Darnold got to Seattle. And we do this in preseason polls. We do this with draft picks. We do this with guys who failed somewhere else. We lock in our opinion, and we don't come off of that opinion when a guy gets better. And I think Sam Darnold has done well enough at this point for us to say, well, maybe it wasn't just all Kevin O'Connell, which then gives me a little bit of pause to say, is Kevin O'Connell going to really be able to just automatically, with a snap of a finger, fix Kyler Murray? I think this is going to be a really interesting case study to also see if Kyler Murray can improve now that he has made his way to greener pastures outside of Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think that this comes to any shock other than probably J.J. McCarthy, who is the only one that could be shocked by this after he gets, quote unquote, benched per se. But I think you can't ignore the experience factor because, Kyler Murray's got several seasons almost throwing for 3,400 or 4,000 yards in Arizona with a team that's really, not a very high caliber team. He's had some success. I think the whole shotgun factor, not to short shame him, because he's 5'10", but like he's 5'10", he kind of needs that extra room to find, his throws over the offensive line, who are going to be significantly taller than him.
It's a different vantage point.
Exactly.
For sure. And I expect them to be way more out of pistol and shotgun than they have in the past because no one's going to know this better than Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah. I think just Kyler Murray offers a different kind of vantage point and experience factor and just really the fact that he's got the pocket escapability. He can, just the way that he ran at Oklahoma and, was gaining yards on the ground. It's something that J.J. McCarthy just doesn't have a lot of experience in, and it's just not his kind of cup of tea. I don't know. It makes more sense to go with Kyler Murray. I think we knew that.
It definitely makes more sense. I just don't think it's going to be an automatic fix.
No. I think you still can find a way to win 10, 11 games, though.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, if he really performs well, I think they're more of a middle-of-the-road NFC team that's on the outside looking into the postseason.
And it doesn't help that you have a really tough division in the NFC North.
Absolutely.
Really tough division.
Absolutely. 615-737-1045 is our number. Rhett Bryan will join us in studio coming up. Plus, Ramon had a quick conversation with newly extended Titans left guard Peter Skoronski yesterday that you will hear coming up next.
A day at the spa, the perfect gift for birthdays, anniversaries, or any occasion. Lavish and luxurious, yet affordable. A grand gesture, yet simple for you. The gift card from A Moment's Peace. Give her the gift she won't buy herself. An escape, a bit of luxury. Something special that shows more than just words. A gift from A Moment's Peace Salon and Day Spa in Cool Springs across I-65 from Galleria Mall. Call 615-224-0770 or go online at amomentspeace.com anytime.
What's happening? What's happening, good people? Let me go on and tell you while you're walking into your weekend what you need to be looking for. That is a truck. Yeah, Mid-10 Ford, they got you covered. They're going to take care of you. All you got to do is slide in there and let them know, hey, man, Big Slay told me. And they will look out for you. Go in there and holler at my guys, Trey, Matt. They're going to be right there to help you walk through the process of going to get your truck. And guess what? It's nothing that's going to be pressure, no high pressure, just low pressure approach, no gimmicks, no pushy sales tactics. That's not what they're about. They're about getting the job done and getting you comfortable and understanding exactly what you're getting into. It's a one-stop shop. If you need service, Mid-10 Ford, they got you covered. They are the ones you need to be looking for. When it comes to the right vehicle, they got you covered. Even a body shop, service, financing, sales, they got it, all of that. All you got to do is go to 1319 Foster Avenue. Visit mid10fordtrucks.com.
7:01. Good morning, live from the Circus Sports at the Mid-Kentucky Downs studio. I'm Justin Hawkins. A chippy day yesterday as the Titans and 49ers wrapped up their joint practice from Santa Clara, California. Titans head coach Robert Saleh met with the media following practice, saying John Franklin Myers is dealing with a lower back injury, Jackie Marshall dealing with an oblique injury. Both of them are hopeful to get back next week. Cornerback Cordell Flott was limited with a bruise. Jacob Martin left practice early with a knee injury. Meanwhile, both Austin Deculus and Dan Moore Jr. were both kicked out of practice for fighting. Saleh also said that everyone will play in the preseason game tomorrow night against the 49ers. NFL news yesterday, the Vikings have named Kyler Murray their starting quarterback, leaving former first-round draft pick J.J. McCarthy to be the backup. Murray becomes the Vikings' fourth different starter the past 4 years. And in Chicago, safety Kobe Bryant underwent knee surgery. He'll now miss the next 4 to 6 months, but the Bears are hopeful that he could return for a potential playoff run. Coming up tonight, Nashville SC takes on CF Monterrey in the final match of Phase 1 in League Cup play. Kickoff at 7 p.m. at Geodis Park here in Nashville. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Away we go into hour number 2 this morning. Ramon and Will on your radios, your 104.5 The Zone app and Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. You could put yourself in a very special place in our hearts by going to youtube.com/1045 The Zone TV and hitting the subscribe button, because you could be the 20,000th subscriber. Our goal was to get there before football season. Football season is tomorrow, friends. We are here. Make us happy and make yourself happy by always being apprised to any new content we have at youtube.com/1045 The Zone TV. Head on over and hit the subscribe button. We appreciate you in advance. Justin Hawkins making the show happen. Ramon going to stop by in an hour. I'm Will Bowling. Stopping by right now in studio, the executive producer of Titans Radio, Rhett Bryan. Rhett, good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Just going over the reactions of yesterday's joint practice with the San Francisco 49ers. Sounds like in the first 10 minutes there were 3 or 4 scraps. Not a Donnybrook, but was it Dan Moore that got ejected from practice?
Dan Moore and Austin Deculus, both ejected from practice.
I think the headline is buried, though, that it's not Jeffrey Simmons ejected from practice.
And it was more Titans offense than it was Titans defense involved in dust-ups yesterday, according to reports.
I was reading Jim Wyatt's piece on the 10 things his observations on TennesseeTitans.com. Said Cam Ward, 16 of 23 in practice with an interception. Completed his first 5 passes. Really good in red zone period, connected with Calvin Ridley and Tony Pollard for touchdowns near the goal line. I heard Calvin Ridley had a really nice day.
I like that. Certainly like that. Matt Maiocco of NBC Sports Bay Area was the reporter yesterday who seemed to have the most positive view on the Titans side of this practice, at least at the beginning of practice. He tweeted out at 1:16 p.m. yesterday, Central Time, that near the start of practice, says, embarrassing start to practice for the 49ers defense. They haven't made a play, and they are instigating scuffles after nearly every whistle in their joint practice against the Titans. It did at least seem to me, Rhett, from what I read, for what it's worth, that a lot of the skirmishes and after the play stuff was maybe a bit more instigated by San Francisco, and that's to be expected, protecting their home turf a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming this is one of their first opportunities to go pop against somebody else, too, as the preseason starts for everybody else tomorrow night. And I guess it's good that the Titans got a little of that out of their system. Maybe the offensive line didn't, evidenced by the ejections of Dan Moore and Austin Deculus. But yeah, look, it's just one of those things that happens. And again, I believe this is why Robert Saleh agreed to do one joint practice with the 3 different teams they're facing in the preseason because day 2 is where those things typically escalate. And they didn't need day 2. They needed the first handful of plays, and here we go. The other thing that I thought was interesting in this is Xavier Restrepo in this joint practice yesterday. Jim White says he had a good day catching the football. I had him with a practice high 5 catches, including 2 that went for touchdowns, one with the ones, I believe. So anyway, Chim DK, 4 grabs, next highest. Cornell Tate with 3. Daniel Bellinger with 3. And, of course, Calvin Ridley and Tony Pollard in red zone scoring catches. Says Cornell Tate might have made the best catch of the day, a spinning acrobatic grab on the sideline. Like that.
He got his bell rung, too, apparently, at the beginning of practice, which is what kind of started the first scuffle and really got things going a little bit.
Cam Ward went over with teammates and said, you ain't doing that to our receiver.
As he should.
Not going to do that.
Absolutely.
I think something that cannot be overstated in this is probably understated in this. Although they weren't long field goals, Joey Sly refound his form in this joint practice 5 for 5, 33, 35, 38, 40, 41, and 44-yard field goals. Like that.
Definitely like that.
Because sometimes, listen, we know that specialists, and especially kickers, for lack of a better term, get the yips, and they just need to get settled back down to center and put it through the pipes. And it sounded like he definitely did that yesterday.
It was reported as well, I'm glad you brought up kicker, by Adam Schefter, that yesterday former Rams kicker Josh Carty worked out for the Titans.
Okay.
So maybe still looking for some competition through camp at least. Josh Carty was with LA last season, was 10 of 15, and that includes a long of 51 yards. He was 1 for 2 from 50 plus, 3 for 4 from 40 to 49, 3 of 5 from 30 to 39. Maybe the biggest red flag within that, and actually 3 of 4 from 20 to 29 a season ago. He was 29 of 34, though, in 2024, playing all 17 games for the LA Rams with a long of 58 yards, and was 32 of 36 on extra points 2 years ago.
And that makes sense with the reported workout because clearly it sounds like he still lives in the area, or in California at least, and was able to make that arrangement for that workout per that report. The other thing that is starting to pick up in stories, and you've seen this reported, you've seen it talked about, rookie guard Fernando Carmona Jr. from Arkansas is starting to get early work in these practices. We can't really say what's what. I don't know who's been reporting what, but he has been showing up early in practice reps.
I think this is a really interesting development, and I want to hear from Robert Saleh on this as well, because ESPN's Teron Davenport asked him about first, the Fernando Carmona piece of the competition.
Tell us, Coach Bob.
And also Jackson Slater's role in this competition as well. This was Robert Saleh speaking post-practice yesterday.
You got to earn it to be able to get in there. He's been doing a nice job. But like I said, with that right guard spot, we're going to keep working to try to find the best player for it.
So that was Saleh yesterday. We're going to effort the Jackson Slater follow-up answer about it as well, because I think it was Teron Davenport who asked him in a follow-up question about Jackson Slater's piece of it. Here's the thing, Rhett. We may start to learn exactly where Fernando Carmona fits within all of this by how much Jackson Slater starts snapping in preseason games. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, so just my opinion here. But we, I think, might see more Jackson Slater at center in his ability to now compete with Andre James to be the swing interior lineman.
Center guard triangle, backup guy.
Because to me, it feels like penciled in right now, take it for what it's worth on August 12th. There's a lot of times for things to change. Penciled in right now, I think Jackson Slater is the swing interior backup. I think that's his role on this football team, which means you better be ready to snap the football if you need to go in a pinch at center.
And underlining that with right now, subject to change, just like everything else. And look, why I'm bringing this stuff up, this sounds silly because every one of these 91 guys on this roster, it's a big week for them. But there are a handful, it could really tilt them in the right direction. I mean, there's a handful of players that needed a good joint practice yesterday, need a good showing tomorrow night at Levi's Stadium. And maybe need is not the right word, but making the most of opportunities.
I remember last season when the Titans did a couple of weeks away and played against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Atlanta Falcons in preseason. We went to Tampa thinking that James Williams was going to be the starter at inside linebacker next to then first-year Titan Cody Barton. We came back from Atlanta, and Cedric Gray was the guy penciled in as the starting linebacker next to Cody Barton.
And that's a prime example of what we're talking about right there.
And we see exactly how good of a season Cedric Gray had. I think it's really easy to forget. He was far from a certainty going into last season. Heck, he was not really someone I think we were counting a whole lot on. We had hope.
He missed 10 games his rookie season.
And for good reason. That's no knock to him, but
right.
This is when things start to change. How often have you seen, Rhett, a player who we've not discussed in the first 2 weeks of camp get an opportunity under the lights in a preseason game and start to flash and gain confidence in game settings that allows them to ultimately make the 53-man roster when camp ends?
Well, the name that you just mentioned that we thought was penciled in, James Williams, in a year later, is making that ascension. Like, he's making plays in practice. He's lining up, and he's gotten early reps in situations. So, to your point, maybe some of that is a delayed gratification thing for the James Williams of the world, because this ebbs and flows. The other thing, the other note I'm looking from Jim Wyatt's practice observations on TennesseeTitans.com. Running back Nick Singleton got a lot of work. Continues to impress me, Jim says. Singleton busted into space on a number of runs, just like he's been doing in practices in Nashville. Scored a touchdown run in the red zone period. Tajay Spears also had some nice runs, including the one that went for a touchdown in a red zone period. And Julius Chestnut lowered his shoulder and ran physical. This is the other part of this, and it's this way every year. But with what they've added to this roster in the last 2 drafts and 2 free agent acquisition periods, the competition for this stuff is not straight up cut and dried anymore because of lack of depth. As I continue to say, the cupboard being a little empty. This running back battle on the back end, tight end battle on the back end, and wide receiver battle on the back end. You should pay attention. It's going to be interesting.
And for running back, Rhett, there is no longer the ability to dispute whether or not a long run would have been a long run or a tackle 5 yards past the line of scrimmage in practice. Everything's live for the backs in preseason games. And there are a couple of positions, running backs I would include within this, where we can really only learn so much in practice. How can you fight through contact? Do you make an extra man miss who in practice we're going to blow the whistle and say, nope, you're down here, let's spot the ball back here, 2nd and 3. And for example, Nick Singleton had about a 40-yard run in the blue and white scrimmage on Friday night that Jim Wyatt wrote at TennesseeTitans.com. For me, that's a touchdown run. They called him short, but in my opinion, I think they would have had a really tough time getting him on the ground. Just to get more work for both sides of the ball, they're always going to err on the side of the tackle was made versus you broke the tackle. All right, next unit, let's get out here so they can get more work in. But I'm interested to see if Nick Singleton can carry some of his momentum into tomorrow night in San Francisco, because you're right. He is starting to trend in the right direction.
Well, and let's take it a step further for him and several other young Titans on this team. Even tomorrow night is not going to match the speed and intensity of a regular season game. It's probably the closer simulation that you can get to, even beyond a joint practice where things are scripted and, Coach Sala says to Coach Shanahan, I'd like to work on this. And Shanahan says, yeah, I'd like to work on that. Let's put this thing together. Now, this is more game situation tomorrow night. But again, not the speed and intensity as you will see them when they come out of the tunnel September 13th against the Jets.
By all accounts, a cleaner and better day overall for San Francisco than the Titans, but I think that is to be expected for a team that is largely similar to what it was last year, a playoff team in the NFC that has a veteran quarterback, that has the knowledge of an offensive system and how to exploit a Robert Saleh defense, considering they practiced against it every day in 5 different seasons that Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh have been together in San Francisco. And even Matt Maiocco, who did tweet what he did, saying, embarrassing start to practice for the 49ers, followed that up later and said, the Niners defense, as it turned out, did not give up much on that side of the field.
No, because guess what? They're good.
They are a really good football team.
They're good.
Really good football team.
Like the Titans are trying to get where they are being a competitive football team.
After Robert Saleh's initial comments on Fernando Carmona, Teron Davenport followed up about the Jackson Slater part of the right guard competition. Robert Saleh, post-practice, had this to say yesterday.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts. We're trying to find the right combination for that O-line. Feel good about the first unit. That right guard's got to get solidified, but overall, just a lot of guys are going to get opportunities at that thing.
How do you come out of this one feeling about?
There you go, Robert Saleh yesterday. So they're not particularly close to finding what that week 1 starting 5 is, and I think that's to be expected.
And this is exactly why when I said you should start paying attention to who's in the lineup tomorrow night is because we've seen the Fernando Carmona Jr.'s, the rookie from Arkansas, in early reps. We've seen Jackson Slater in early reps. Didn't mean that Fernando Carmona Jr. is going to win this job. It could happen, sure. You heard it right there. They're trying to find the right 5, the right combination to help number 1 and the rest of those skill set offensive position players win.
Robert Saleh did say yesterday everyone's going to play tomorrow night, and even mentioned it's going to be more than a series for the starters with the offensive group. So maybe an opportunity to give one series to one right guard and the next series to the other right guard, whoever that is, who starts the game.
I will be closely watching substitution spotting for Taylor Zarzer, for sure.
Well, we do have 40% of an NFL offensive line on our broadcast crew tomorrow night as well.
We do, and they will. That's 4 excellent set of veteran eyes.
Absolutely.
To make sure we know, hey, I can hear
66.
Brad Hopkins right now talking to Joseph Fernando going, hey, man, 66 is in right guard. 66.
I'm looking forward to
64 now. 64 now.
Cannot wait to get that knowledge and experience and expertise, and excited to hit the road with some new faces on the Titans radio team, and one familiar one, obviously, and Ramon Foster, who's going to be on the show here in 40 minutes. Speaking of Ramon Foster talking to Titans offensive linemen, he had the chance to catch up with Peter Skoronski for a couple minutes yesterday. We will play you that and talk more about the big position battles as the Titans take the field tomorrow night in Santa Clara. Rhett Bryan, Will Bowling, Ramon and Will, 104.5 The Zone. Put Lee Company on your team and stay ahead of the game with home maintenance, repairs, and more. What's going on? It's Will Bowling. For as little as $14 a month, become a Lee Company Plus member and receive 4 annual visits to your home for your heating, air conditioning, plumbing, and electrical systems. Even better, Lee Company Plus members receive 20% off on all repairs and enjoy priority service. Learn more online at leecompany.com/plus. Platinum Home Protection starts with a Lee Company Plus membership. This is what Lee Company does. They help you with everything around the house. The second something's not working, that you don't know how to fix, maybe the kind of thing that you're just going to make worse if you try to get in there and bring out the toolbox, make sure you get Lee Company out there. And becoming a Lee Company Plus member is a great way to start. You get 4 annual visits to your home for just $14 a month. Heating, air conditioning, plumbing, and electrical systems. Check them out online at leecompany.com/plus. That's Lee Company, all you need. If you have a 2, 3, or 4% mortgage rate, don't refinance it. You don't have to. You can still get cash out of your home. Introducing Loan Pronto's zero-cost equity loan. What's up? It's Will Bowling. That's right. With Loan Pronto, you can get all the cash you need without touching your first mortgage and without any fees. One local homeowner just got $100,000, paid off all their credit cards, paid off their existing HELOC, remodeled their kitchen, and saved over $1,500 per month. It gets better. There's no hard credit pull up front, usually no appraisal and no long drawn-out process, and no closing costs. You may even be able to skip your next 2 house payments. So call Loan Pronto now. Leave your low-rate mortgage intact, but get the cash you need in as little as 2 weeks without paying closing costs. That's online at loanpronto.com. See how much you can get right now at 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780. And online at loanpronto.com. For qualified homeowners, equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, NMLSconsumeraccess.org. Ramon Will rolls on in studio this morning and on the road in San Francisco. That's fun to say. Tomorrow. Rhett Bryan and Will Bowling. Ramon Foster will stop by in a half hour. He'll give his thoughts from Santa Clara because he was in the building next to the substation yesterday for Titans and 49ers joint practice. No Ramon Fosters were harmed in the making of this joint practice. Let's go to Ramon, who had the chance post-practice to catch up with Titans left guard Peter Skoronski.
Tennessee Titans guard Peter Skoronski with us right now. Pete, intense day today, man, with the 49ers. You guys get out of this what you were looking for?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I got to hit somebody else for one. That's a great thing. And not being up on your own teammates. But then just seeing different looks, different personnel, guys showing off different stuff. So, yeah, really good competitive environment. I think everyone approached it super, super well. I thought the group really attacked, was really physical. A couple guys doing a little too much, but that's a little bit of part of the joint practice experience. So, I'm really proud of the group and how we attacked. I think we got out what we wanted to get out of it.
That was fascinating. You said the way you approached it in tactic. Was that a part of the plan that just kind of really set the tone? I feel like that's been the mindset of this group since camp started. You guys are taking that next step.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, if you want to be a great football team, you got to set the tone up front with your offensive line. I thought the group really approached that well. I think you guys had guys finishing, guys playing physical, really getting after it. So, really proud of the group in that sense.
When you look at you guys' own defense that Coach Sala coaches, and now with this 49ers defense, did that help assist for what to expect on a day like today?
Yeah, a little bit in terms of play style. I think Raheem has some different mix-ups in there. He's got his own mind and own scheme, so it's not 100% the same thing. Obviously, the personnel is different too. There's little wrinkles, but we're going to see that style of defense going forward a lot. So it's good to give a different look at it.
This year, you 2 years in a row, you're playing next to Dan Moore, man. That cohesion, that communication, how beneficial is that for you two guys, man? And what the steps you've taken so far?
Yeah, I think consistency and cohesion is a huge win for offensive line. I think that's what you want to build in the group. It's not ideal to have guys cycling in and out all the time, and having a second year with Dan I think is really nice because it's the first time I've had back-to-back left tackles in 2 years. So really happy with that. Love Dan, love the communication and the gel we have, and I'm excited to work with him.
You have to be a little excited of the weapons that you guys have, proven guys. Cam, another year in growth for him, man. What does it mean to know that you guys don't have to hold the ball for 5 seconds if you don't have to?
Yeah, so much faith in what's going on behind us. I think that's the way to put it. If we block our guys, Cam's going to make a play. Tate's down there, or Wandale's down there, or TP's going to find a crease. So really good feeling to have guys like that. It makes you, not that you're not motivated to block, but makes blocking even almost easier in a sense.
On a lighter note, you weren't able to see the defensive field the way I was today.
Yeah.
You feel sorry for the 49ers offensive line?
Yeah, I've been there. We've been there the past few weeks. I'm glad they get to go against somebody else because it gets tiring to go against big 9-8 and company.
No doubt about it. Peter Skoronski.
Peter Skoronski yesterday with Ramon Foster. Glad Peter Skoronski, Rhett Bryan, is sticking around in Tennessee Titans colors.
Very good news on that front. And some would argue he's their best offensive lineman. I don't think, you would get a lot of argument out of that. And what we need is that to be infectious to the left and the right so that the best five is out there doing their stuff.
Yeah.
But, and Ramon loves Peter Skoronski. And I tell you who else is super high on him is the other man we'll talk to who is an offensive lineman on the sidelines tomorrow night, and Brad Hopkins. Brad Hopkins thinks he'll have a Pro Bowl year.
I think he should.
If things are going right, yeah, that could very well be a thing.
I think he earned that last season, to be honest with you, and played at a Pro Bowl level in this Titans offensive line last year.
But 3 wins doesn't get you a whole lot.
That's true. Yeah. And I think, too, Rhett, we talked about this with Ramon the other day, and he wholeheartedly agreed. You can have the cart come before the horse sometimes in the offensive linemen, especially, I think, in the interior, who make the Pro Bowl. I think it's very easy for Pro Bowl voters and for people to look around at a position that's hard to evaluate and say, all right, well, who are the highest paid guys? Who already got an extension? Oh, Peter Skoronski? All right, well, then I'll just go ahead and vote for him. Right? And that doesn't mean that Peter hasn't earned it, and I think he will earn it this season, but there is an inherent bias there for players who have been paid, and now Peter has been paid.
Well, and you're right. Once the ice is broken and he gets an election to the Pro Bowl, then there's a familiarity thing also. Because I go back to Jarrell Casey a few years ago. Jarrell turned down 2 opportunities to go to the Pro Bowl as an alternate his first couple of years that he was an alternate, and he declined because he didn't think he'd earned it. But once he got in as a starter, he had multiple Pro Bowls because, Big Jarrell, is known in circles. It's kind of like the Jeffrey Simmons effect of that. It's really with any of those players that get invited or get elected to those things.
Now, you become a name.
Right. I see an interesting question here in the F&M Bank chat. Brandon Scott says, Rhett, what would your definition of a successful season for the Titans be? I'm going to tell you what I believe that to be right now, in my opinion. First of all, Cam Ward is upright and healthy for all 17 games. And if things are going really well, maybe more than that. That means he cannot be sacked 55 times, some of which was his fault. And the rest is the rest. But if we're talking about wins and losses, I would consider that first, that your quarterback is rolling into year 3, and that these weapons around him are growing with him. But if we're talking about the wins and losses part, I think if you have doubled your win total from the last 2 years, you go from 3 to 6 wins. Anything north of that with those other things involved, noticing the earmarks statistically that you need to look at, and that is scoring points per game, scoring points allowed on defense, third down efficiency, and the big one, the turnover ratio. If those are all moving in the right directions and you've won 6 games and maybe you stacked another one here and there, I would consider that a successful season and moving in the right direction, knowing that they still need some pieces in 2027 in free agency in the draft.
I totally agree. I think that's a great way to look at it. I think you would even find a lot of folks, and maybe myself included, Rhett, who would say you could even subtract 1 win from whatever the total is, but then also guarantee me that Cam Ward is playing at a high level and improving. And I think a lot of folks would be okay with that, because there is little doubt for me that as this team builds a defense in Robert Saleh's system's image, that this defense is going to be all right. I have very little doubt about that. We know from Robert Saleh's time in New York, he is capable of running an elite level defense as the head coach.
I don't want to create expectations for things, but I have the same belief that I believe the defense will be better. Because here in the chat, after I answered that, says, yes, scoring more than 16.7 points per game also. Well, I said that.
That'd be great.
You need more of that. And then the other said, and the defense not giving up 28 points per game. I said that as well. Those are huge earmarks in this. You can talk about differences in yardage, and where yards doesn't mean diddly poo squat if it's not tied to points.
Right. 100%.
And I believe that the defense will be better. I believe John Bones Fossil in the third phase of this in special teams will continue a really good showing as they did in 2025. That was the best phase of the 3, if we're being honest. And if the offense can kind of bring that up somewhere, and here's the other part of this. Do we see down the stretch of the season a place or two where Cam Ward has won you a ball game because Cam Ward is your starting franchise quarterback? That's the earmark of a quarterback going from, serviceable to good to heading towards things called elite, because the really good quarterbacks account 4 to 5 wins a season for you if they're doing their job correctly. And the elite ones, maybe north of that. But if you start to see evidence of that, that is also a sign of a successful season with something to build off of.
It's high on the list of priorities, and seeing more drives and game-winning moments like we saw last season in Arizona. when Cam Ward took the Titans down the field, delivered a seed to Calvin Ridley to put him in field goal range.
I would like to see lots of seeds.
I would like to see lots of seeds.
Which is are very metaphorical and good going into 27, because then maybe we're seeing a harvest in 2027.
How about that?
So
I'm going to steal that for a Titans countdown later this year, maybe.
Thank you. I just need credit. A little credit
Absolutely.
there. But no, and I go back to the defense part of this, and you can just see the operational differences in what this coaching staff is, and just this team looks different. I keep saying that. I hope that translates tomorrow night and every showing they have in front of people.
Absolutely.
Because if the defense improves, and I go back to the two critical things, can't allow 28 points per game, which means the offense has to do something on first and second down to create some more sustainable, longer drives so that the defense isn't out there for 40 minutes of game clock and absolutely spent because they're getting rocked back on their heels because the offense is having trouble offensively.
It's critical.
With consistency. But the defense must do its part when it gets out there and create more turnovers so they can give the ball back to, in a perfect world, they just run a score in, but give the ball back to Cam Ward in an advantageous spot to go get some more points, and then they get points out of that. It's so elementary, but it's so damn hard to do.
It is.
If you have the right personnel, you can make it look a little easier. They're getting towards trying to get the right personnel.
And I think that's my larger point about my long-term confidence in Robert Saleh's defense as the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. The longer that Robert Saleh has to develop the players that are on this roster to play his system, but also the longer that Mike Borgonzi has to fill the cupboard, not only on the first line of the depth chart, but the second line of the depth chart with Robert Saleh-style defensive players, the more confidence I have in this defense looking like a Robert Saleh defense. I think it's going to be on the pathway this season, and I have no idea where they're going to ultimately finish statistically and all these things. But I totally agree with you. I think they have a chance to be a much improved defense this year with the two guys they're going to have rushing the passer from the interior together, Jeffrey Simmons and John Franklin Myers, anchoring a Robert Saleh scheme.
And look, there's a lot of ifs and buts and candies and nuts in this thing. Like, they have to, the health has to be a huge part of this.
Definitely.
Lucky bounces of the ball have to be a part of this. There's so many things factoring into this. And so, I'm not saying they're going to do whatever. I do believe they will win more than 3 ball games.
Yeah.
It's up to them how many more that is. I'm just going to say that. And then I'm looking at, hey, Will and Rhett lost their minds.
Oh, that's our relative.
Whatever.
Our relative cynicist. Would that be what you say?
Listen, this man is entitled to his opinion just like anybody else is. And I hope that you're wrong and we're right in that case, because Titans football winning is a good thing. And then Adam Weber says 6-11 is not good enough. When you've only won 6 games in the last 2 years, I think 6-11 is moving in the right direction. Is it good enough in realistic, technical terms? No. But in contrast and comparison to what has been happening, again, you're moving in the right direction.
We did this exercise last week, Rhett, and talked about this. What if you're the New Orleans Saints in 2025 this year? Think about the momentum that New Orleans has in the NFC South this season. They know where they stand, at least for now, at quarterback. Tyler Shuck was great down the stretch last season. They won 4 out of their last 5 games. They were 6-11. There is a world where 6-11 gains a lot of momentum if the arrow is pointing up at the end of the season.
And the difference with them, in your example and analogy, is they're in a division that is very winnable.
It is, right.
The NFC South, like the AFC South, the Titans have to get past the other 3 because they've been living in the bottom of it. But yes, with the kind of trajectory example you're talking about, yes. Would you like to be that? And again, when you've won 6 games in 2 years, I think you'd like to be anywhere but there. Listen, I did a radio hit on In fact, it's a station called the Green Zone.
Oh.
In Saskatchewan, Canada.
Wow.
The other day. And
International.
they were asking about the AFC South. And I said, I think the Titans in this are trying to get to finishing third. And if something goes crazy, second in the division, which sounds stupid. But again, knowing where you've come from, you have to start. And I told those hosts, I said, Indianapolis is the one that has the most balancing on nothing. I mean, you've got Daniel Jones coming off of a quarterback significant injury.
Alec Pierce still isn't practicing.
This is a massive year for Shane Steichen and for the general manager of that franchise because they're balancing on some stuff. Because if something happens to him, is it Anthony Richardson that rolls out there who's already asked for and been denied a trade request? They've backed up the truck like all the other running backs and paid Jonathan Taylor this offseason. But they've got a lot to write in this. And then the other thing I mentioned is what Liam Cohen and Jacksonville's trying to do is duplicate 2025 and improve off of that and see if they can advance further in the playoffs. Houston comes down to the same thing it's been. The starting 5 offensive line, which is really what the Titans are trying to figure out here. And then C.J. Stroud finding some of that rookie magic. That's what the AFC South is in a snapshot.
And good luck to Jacksonville on forcing 31 turnovers for a second straight season like they did last year.
When Devin Lloyd is now in Carolina, had 5 of those in like the first 8 weeks of the season.
5 picks last year for Devin Lloyd, led the team.
And I think he had 4 in the first month and a half.
I think you're right.
He was a house of fire by the time we saw him.
Yep. Coming up with Rhett Bryan, I want to ask, what is the position battle you are most looking forward to watching when the Titans take the field tomorrow night against the 49ers? We'll do that with Rhett Bryan as we wrap up the first half of the show, coming up next. Hey, if you are moving in Middle Tennessee, you need all the help you can get, right? You got to have that agent, that team that takes away the stress out of the moving process. Maybe I said the word moving and your anxiety levels just went up a little bit. You need Bernie Gallerani of Bernie Gallerani Real Estate. What's up? It's Will Bowling. Bernie Gallerani guarantees to sell your home in 30 days or less, or he'll buy it from you. Yeah, there's no risk to you. Bernie will let you out of the contract at any time. His team is fantastic because he is the real estate agent who has the 30-day guarantee to sell your home. If that interests you, and it should, if you're looking to move in Middle Tennessee, call him directly on his cell phone, 615-428-2644. You can head online to learn more about his team at BernieGallerani.com. You're going to have peace of mind in the moving process. You're going to be able to have a guarantee that you're going to get top dollar for your home. So call Bernie Gallerani directly at 615-428-2644 or head online to BernieGallerani.com. Wrapping up the first half of the show on Ramon and Will. We'll get Ramon Foster into the discussion coming up here in just a few minutes.
How many walkout songs has this been done to? How many, PA lulls in a football game, high school, college, pro? How many? I mean, first of all, Thunderstruck by AC/DC, it's not even one of their older hits. That's just, a little over 30 years old, something like that, 35. But it still hits. It still hits you.
Always will.
I'm sitting here going, and it's like when, what is it? Is it Clemson comes out to Enter Sandman by Metallica? Is it Clemson?
Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech. That's
Virginia
right.
Tech. Yep.
That still hits.
It does.
It really does.
No doubt about it.
And I saw Metallica do that live when that album was current. And I saw
Did you really?
I saw it at Municipal Auditorium. They had this triangle stage, and they had what was called the Snake Pit. And you could buy upgraded seats and be in the Snake Pit as they're performing around. Yeah.
Wow.
And then something that, unless you're a Grateful Dead person, Deadhead, would understand this. In that show, and I think they were doing it on that tour, you could actually tape that concert.
Wow.
See, Grateful Dead, they were Deadheads. There are all kinds of Deadheads that have all kinds of tapes from when they were touring and doing things. And you could do that in that show with Metallica. That was like, I don't know, 1992 or 3.
That's awesome.
Something like that.
Very cool. I like it.
I saw where Dave Matthews is coming to Bridgestone. He is the second most ticket-selling artist of all time, and I forget who he's behind, but 25 million tickets sold.
Goodness.
That's,
that's a lot of people.
Jam band, touring, there are people who've seen him dozens of times.
Wow.
All the little ants are marching.
Well, you have seen hundreds of Tennessee Titans games in person.
I have.
And we're going to add one to that total tomorrow night as the Titans take on the 49ers. What is the position battle, Brian, tomorrow night you are most excited to watch?
Let me just say this, in sitting in for Ramon in this particular hour and channeling him and Brad Hopkins as my spirit animals, I'm watching the offensive line, and I mean all iterations of it, all teams of it from start to finish. Not just the ones, not just the twos, not just the threes. I want to see all of that and see how this works against, and again, it's can't manufacture the speed and the intensity of this, but it is the most you're going to get to that point in this game, because it'll be pads under the lights, the whole bit. I want to see that in operation with all the quarterbacks.
For me, it is inside linebacker, because this is the first opportunity to see the keying and diagnosing, the gap integrity, but the overall physicality and ability to cover in space and tackle a back to the ground for Titans linebackers. It's that next step where we really start to learn how these guys are acclimating to a Robert Saleh system. Justin, if we can, I want to play Cedric Gray yesterday when asked about James Williams and how he has done in camp so far. Because, Rhett, I would say on defense, James Williams is the story of this training camp for me at this point.
And quietly, Cedric Gray has just done Cedric Gray things. It's like the Tony Pollard of it all. He shows up, he looks the part, he is the part, he does the part.
He has. And I think now you are looking at a group that has 4 guys at the top: Cody Barton, Cedric Gray, Mahmoud Diabate, Anthony Hill Jr., who felt, I would say, coming into training camp, confident about their spot on this team and their roles within this defense. James Williams has played himself into being in a top 5, who I would say are confident about having a role to play on this defense this year. Dorian Mausi had a really good spring and was a player who was terrific on special teams last season and got a lot of praise from the coaching staff a year ago. This was Cedric Gray, though, giving praise to his friend and fellow linebacker James Williams post-practice yesterday.
Oh my gosh, he's been balling out this camp. Me and James have been pretty close since we got here together. So I'm just very, very happy for him. I knew he always had it in him. I knew he was a dog. So I'm just glad that he's able to showcase that this year, and to really showcase his talents. He's been balling out.
Cedric Gray yesterday. I do love that they are still as close as they are, considering they were in direct competition with each other last season.
I think there's a bond when you come in as rookies that, unless you just don't like each other, your personalities clash or whatever, I think that's a strong bond with however. And, of course, one's a draft pick, one's was James
They're
Williams?
both draft picks. He was seventh round.
That's right. Yep. That's right. But still, I just think there's a serious bond there. And I would agree. I want to see that unit tomorrow night. I want to see the Anthony Hill of it all. Like Anthony Hill, this could be a big week for him.
Huge.
Could be a building block week for Keldrick Falk. Like I want to see some of these young cats out there. I want to steer. I don't want to put us in the ditch because I know I'm getting ready to dip out of here and you're going to keep moving to halftime of the show. But I see in here, Vandy Man ask us, all three of us, what would be our walk-up song if we had one? Mine's easy. The Who, Eminence Front. And there's a lot of keys in the front of that, but when it establishes with that drum roll and the guitar, like that is, and that works for baseball, that works for
Absolutely,
that works for anything. That would be mine. What would be yours?
Right above it by Drake and Lil Wayne.
Okay.
High school anthem.
Sure.
Undefeated.
Okay.
I love it. I love this
Jayhawk?
question, though. I change every about couple years.
That's okay.
I like T.I.'s Bring 'Em Out.
Okay.
All three solid selections.
Not bad. We will have a lot of fun tomorrow night and this season on Titans Radio. We are excited to head out to Santa Clara today. Get ready for our first broadcast of the year tomorrow. Let's do it, Rhett.
Let's go.
Appreciate you. Good to see you.
Yep.
Coming up, Ramon Foster joins us with his takeaways from yesterday's joint practice with the San Francisco 49ers after this.
8:04, good morning, live from the Circus Sports at the Mint Kentucky Downs studio. I'm Justin Hawkins. A chippy day yesterday as the Titans and San Francisco 49ers wrapped up their joint practice in Santa Clara. Titans head coach Robert Saleh met with the media following practice, saying John Franklin Myers dealing with a lower back injury, Jackie Marshall dealing with an oblique injury, both of them hopeful to get back next week. Cornerback Cordell Flott was limited with a bruise. Jacob Martin left practice early with a knee injury. Meanwhile, both Austin Deculus and Dan Moore Jr. both were kicked out for fighting. Robert Saleh also said yesterday that everyone will play in the preseason game tomorrow night against the 49ers. NFL news yesterday, the Vikings have named Kyler Murray as their starting cornerback for the season, leaving former first-round draft pick J.J. McCarthy to be the backup. Murray becomes the Vikings' fourth different starter in the past 4 seasons. And in Chicago, the Bears' safety Kobe Bryant underwent knee surgery. He'll now miss the next 4 to 6 months, but the Bears are hopeful that he can return for a potential playoff run. Coming up tonight, Nashville SC takes on CF Monterrey in the final match of Phase 1 in League Cup play. Kickoff is at 7 p.m. at Geodis Park here in Nashville. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second half of the show, in hour number 3, getting started on Ramon and Will. 615-737-1045 is our number. The sun is out. It is a beautiful morning in Nashville, Tennessee. But in Santa Clara, California, I don't think the sun is up yet. But you know who is up? Ramon Foster, who joins us right now. He was at practice yesterday. What's up? Good morning. How are you?
Man, we're good. You're right. The sun is just now creeping up, man. It was a great day yesterday. By the way, it gets like early fall cold at nighttime out here, man. Like it legitimately is I would tell you, bring a hoodie, Will. Bring a hoodie this evening. If you can get one from me, bring me one as well, okay? Because you need it at nighttime is all I'm saying.
How cold are we talking? Like 50s, 60s?
It's low 60s.
Oh.
Low 60s. Like yesterday morning, it was like 66 walking out. Like it was chilly.
You know what? You did tell me that yesterday, and I thought to myself, oh, great. I have this new, with the secondary logo, like the football and the TN, lightweight Titans hoodie. I'm going to throw it in my suitcase. Did not throw it in my suitcase. Did not remember.
You should have.
I definitely should have. Definitely should have. All right, well, we'll see if I have time to run home before we head to the airport to head your way later today.
I know where we are right now says it's 60 degrees, like currently 60 degrees right now. Beautiful
That
outside.
is so exciting. That is so exciting. That means you're going to have to partake in my football tradition with me, that I always have a pumpkin coffee before the first football broadcast that I do every year. And so it's going to feel like football weather. So that is, again, reason for us to have pumpkin coffee.
Well, this community hotel coffee that I'm having right now is not a PSL.
Okay. Well, I don't need a PSL, just some kind of pumpkin creamer, just something. Take the edge off.
Okay, well, I have to check at the stores when I go soon to see if we're at that point right now where they're starting to sell it a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, I got you though. I told you I got you. I'm in this thing with you, Will Bowler.
Well, excited to be there with you tonight and to do the show tomorrow from, I guess, one of our rooms, I guess is how we're going to do that. I don't know. We need to probably put our heads together and figure all that out. But the thing that we are figuring out today is how the Titans looked yesterday against the 49ers. You were there, so there's only so much I can say from reporters and videos and press conferences because obviously I wasn't there to watch it. Your biggest takeaway, Ramon, from yesterday's practice with the Niners was what?
The Titans did not. I got a lot of headlines. Well, you just gonna have to deal with.
Well, we got 2 hours.
We kind of walk through this, okay?
We got Brent Hubbs at 9:20. The rest of the time, we've got time for your takeaways. So no rush here,
man. So here's the thing: the Titans, in my opinion, did not come out to Santa Clara to make new friends. Not even a little bit.
Good.
They did not. I think the itinerary said joint practice. Okay. But like they had already told them that this was a territorial dispute, is what I'm telling you. It was hot from the get-go. I'm talking about first play on the offensive side for the Titans. That was what was most shocking. I'll be honest with you. I had already just conditioned myself. Okay, I said, defense gonna pop it off for the Titans today. Absolutely did not have it on my bingo card that the O-line walked out with a big stick and said, I wish y'all would try us today. There was a tone set early in this practice that was refreshing. And I know fights, we've had this conversation for weeks now, I feel, for a couple of weeks, a few days, let's just say in general. But I will tell you this, like if you were a fan of the Titans, you'd have been proud of how they drew a line in the sand and said, I dare you to cross it. And anybody that touches Cam, that put ill will on our rookie receiver on the sideline, that touches Wan'Dale Robinson, you're going to have to pay for it. If you hit Tony Pollard in the back, you're going to have to pay for it. Now, I know a lot of people probably hear me say this, well, that ain't football. It is when you're playing in a joint practice and you can't be suspended for it. There is an attitude adjustment I feel like this team is being authentic about. They're taking on the personality of what I feel like Coach Saleh, Coach Dable, Gus Bradley, like you name all the coaches. I can name them all. Let's just stay with Coach Saleh. They're taking on that mentality, in my personal opinion, that says, okay, we understand what we have been in years past, and that can no longer fly moving forward. I'll say this, the trenches of the offensive line and the defensive line, I feel like you'd have been proud of how they tone set everything for the day. And not just on the fighting side of it, but in my personal opinion, and I feel like I saw some 49er receivers that kind of say that, and there were some Titans guys that said it as well from time to time, but I thought the Titans won the physicality battle yesterday. I was even talking to Brad Hopkins yesterday after the practice. I said, okay, Brad, so talk to me. Who won the day? And I was like, no, scrap that. Let's talk about who actually won each phase. I said, physicality. He said the Titans. I said, same. I truly believe that. They set the tone early in the game. And then we got to a point, it was like, overall, who won the entire practice? He was like, I thought towards the end, he's like, I thought the 49ers executed better than the Titans did. And we kind of went back and forth on what that actually meant, who did what, how it actually happened. Now, there's a lot of, I've seen just the social media side of it as well. 49er reporters are saying that the Titans dominated and won the day or looked better than their squad. Titans reporters
I've not seen
and
that.
media... I have seen that. I've seen that discussion pop up. Titans reporters have kind of said that the 49ers dominated. There's context to all of this. I feel like that's not being given because, like, you have to report for, I guess, attention. What I would say is this. Before Dan Moore went out offensively, the Titans were kicking butt. There was no ifs, no ands, no buts about it. Before Dan Moore went out, they were absolutely, I felt like, dominating. Now, there was some gifts, some gives and takes with it as well. But I thought at that point in time, the momentum was on the Titans side. What I will say is this. On the Cam Ward interception that happened, it was Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon that was in. They absolutely blitzed Brandon Crenshaw-Dixon off that side. And Cam got pressure. Cam threw the ball behind Wan'Dale Robinson for a pick. That was a succession of that plan. Now, you don't want, of course, Dan Moore being thrown out of practice because of a fight and he throwing punches, whatever the case may have been. Coach Saleh's not playing with that whatsoever. The way we've witnessed in practices over the last couple of weeks since they've had pads on guys that get in the skirmishes and a hand is thrown, you are out of here, okay? And that's the way I kind of viewed it. It kind of started to go down a little bit at that point whenever you lost a pivotal piece of your offensive line. Where just off on like it just being total dominance from the 49ers, I personally did not see it that way. And then the other side as well, too, as I give you more of a recap, the secondary for the Titans did have some issues. They just did. Being stuck to your man has to be a part of this defense. But the context that's also not given from Brad Hopkins and the eyes viewpoint on the field, we sat in the corner of both fields and went back and forth, just like ping pong, watching the right side, watching the left side. On the left side was the defense. On some of those down the field passes, Jeff made it home a couple of times. Jermaine Johnson made it home. Jacob Martin blazed off the edge as well. They put pressure in the quarterback's face. But, of course, the play has to continue in practices because they want to see the downfield side of the tape as well. Secondary, second level of the defense do have to make their plays when it comes down to that. But a couple of those plays that you saw were sacks. Quarterback got flushed out. They were sacks. I thought Cody Barton had one of the best days I've seen him have. He laid a booming hit on one of their running backs. It was so crazy because it was a rollout and the quarterback was trying to fish and figure out where he can find a weak spot at. What was more fascinating was Jeff was in pursuit, and Jeff Simmons stopped on a dime because he recognized he might throw across his body. The same play that Jermaine Johnson made last week on Cam, Jeff stopped. It wasn't Jeff who made the play. It was Cody Barton coming down here, and I'm talking about, in the side. Just laid the wood down on him. But those were the type of plays that were also being made, too. The other side of it was Cody had a good one. I thought Said was solid throughout the course of the day. Anthony Hill Jr. had a strip fumble, a real play. That's the one I think Jimmy wrote in his observation, and which McMurray landed on. That was because of Anthony Hill Jr. He almost had a pick as well, Anthony Hill Jr. And I would also add that there was some good coverage from time to time. And again, I will give it to them. The 49ers, they worked really well as far as being able to extend the plays and make plays on the sideline. Secondary might have been a little bit of a sore topic yesterday for the Titans, most definitely.
That's a lot of notes. It's a lot of nuggets.
But
I feel like I just got a 20-piece nugget.
Because I ingested a lot of what everybody was saying.
I know, I love it.
Like, the secondary side of it, most definitely needs to be corrected. They're going to have to watch the tape and be able to stick to their guys a whole lot better than what they did. I'm not going to minimize that whatsoever. The context of the Titans being physical was absolutely there offensively. And then also adding to the fact that you lost 2 tackles, veteran tackles. And I do know this about that group. Let's just speak about the big boys up front. It's kind of been a laughing stock of Nashville for a couple of years, about 3-4 years now, as far as the offensive line. Their mentality of being attack first is prevalent. I saw J.C. Latham. Oh, my God, I'm glad we went this route. Are we close to a break? Do we need to go to a break?
Yeah, we're over a break. Let's go ahead and get a break.
All right, for sure. We'll go to a break.
We're talking about J.C. Latham next?
Yes, we have to.
Let's do it.
We have to.
Ramon Foster's takeaways from practice continue. Ramon Foster, Will Bowling, Ramon and Will, 104.5 The Zone. Ramon Will on 104.5 The Zone. You are listening to hour number 3. Wherever you are in Middle Tennessee or around the world, we are grateful you have decided to spend your Wednesday morning with us. We've got a Wednesday visit with Brent Hubbs coming up at 9:20. Austin Price caught my attention with what he said about George McIntyre in the quarterback competition on Monday. We'll see what Brent has to say about the competition so far. So, Ramon, you are higher on the Titans' performance yesterday in joint practice against the 49ers than a lot of what I have seen. And I like this because I trust your analysis and know that you are not sugarcoating things. I legitimately believe sometimes from the player's perspective, the way you are wired, and I like this, things are never as good as they seem, things are never as bad as they seem. And I think, to be fair, it is to be expected that for the San Francisco 49ers would look like the better football team and have a cleaner day overall at practice on their home turf as a team the Titans are trying to become. The Titans are building to try to be what they hope is some semblance of the San Francisco 49ers. This is closer to the finished product.
Yeah, it was. And here's my vantage point of it, though, too, Will. Brad Hopkins and I were able to stand and see just all of both fields. Okay, we stood in the corner. I could look to our right and see the offense, Titans offense. I would look to the left and see the Titans defense. There were fans in the reserves. Well, there was reserves in front of where I feel like the media was at the time, with some of the plays that were happening on either field at the time. What I would say is this is, and I was telling Hawk on a break. So the way I viewed this, like, okay, well, if we're viewing it as a game, the 49ers possibly won the game.
Yeah.
But the competitiveness of what this game wasn't as one-sided as it was described. Like, I was just explaining to somebody in our chat, was just like, what was it? What did he say? He was just like, Purdy threw 5 touchdowns yesterday. I'm like, we got to also, Will, and this is my point that you bring up, like, we also got to bring context to it as well. Purdy was also pressured and sacked on those plays and allowed to be able to still throw downfield. The Will Levis interception, for instance, Will Levis was dead in the water. He was done. He didn't have to throw the football. He could have dirted it, but the play is still allowed to go on, and Will Levis threw it and ended up being an interception.
That's what makes practice so different from a regular game setting, right?
That's not an interception per se. It is because of continuation of the play and his decision to throw it where he did at the time. But in a real game activity, that's -7 yards right there. That's the context I want to give to it. But we ended this show, and there's 2 points I want to make.
Yeah.
Real quick. There's so much, Will. Is what I would tell you.
We got time.
It's just so much. So the 2 tackles, J.C. Latham and Dan Moore, dog. It was watching. It was like watching like the Bash Brothers and how they went about their business yesterday. I saw Dan Moore on one play. It was him and Peter Skoronski working together in a real team period. It was supposed to be a end tackle twist. End goes under, tackle goes around for pressure. So end pressures, tackle goes around for coverage and containment. JC punched his D in as he was trying to go in and hit Peter. Punches him to the ground. He lands and he snatches him down legally. The looper, the tackle goes around and Dan punches his ass to him to the ground. And me and Hop hit each other like, did you see Dan? Like, it was a chef's kiss. I'm telling you, there was a discussion that happened before this practice, and you could see them buzzing beforehand. There was an instance in which JC was the exact same thing. I think JC probably won the physicality day yesterday. Besides one person, I'll get that person in a second. JC on the play action play, meaning he goes out, set like it's a run, then sit down in his protection. He grabs one of their starting D ends by his collar, Will, holds onto him, shakes him, throws him, and at the end of the play told him, get the bleep off my field. And I'm hearing this. I'm like,
Okay.
It was not as bad. It wasn't as good. But when I tell you that if you're looking for like the attitude and the execution, it was there. Cam was in on it. They backed each other up. It wasn't perfect. Cam did get tapped. There was some sacks and stuff that happened. Watching the young fellas up front work was good to see. There was a couple of false starts that have happened that got to get cleaned up by some young guys in the practice setting and stuff like that. But we'll go one more point, Will, before I pass it back to you.
Okay.
I saw in real time Jeff get agitated. And
Jeffrey
I've seen
Simmons,
this twice
you're talking
now.
about. Yep.
Jeffrey Simmons. When Jeff gets going and the fuse is lit, can't nobody touch him. And that's why I'm telling y'all, like the vantage point that Brad Hopkins and I had and watching Jeff do work, Jeff was kicking ass, talking trash after the fact and lining up and doing it again. And it wasn't just him. Like, that's when Jacob Martin started eating off his plate. That's when Jermaine started going across the middle. Like, that's when, like Jordan, what is his last
Jordan
name?
Elliott.
Jordan Elliott started getting pressure up the middle. Like, you saw Jeff grab one of their offensive linemen and just walk him into the lap of the freaking quarterback. And I'm thinking, play's dead, but the ball still go downfield. And, of course, it's a completion. I've watched this guy the last few, I feel like, physical practices that the Titans have had turn it on. And nobody's been able to stop him. It was fun to watch. Secondary
Nice.
got to handle and correct it. But I just wanted to make that point. Like, it wasn't total dominance by them. The Titans ate well yesterday.
So I wanted to react to this with you. The audio from Robert Saleh yesterday talking about why it was important to play San Francisco, in my opinion. This is an answer about Kyle Shanahan and his offense understanding what vulnerabilities there are in a Robert Saleh defensive system. This was Saleh post-practice yesterday.
You know, like I said, this offense, you know, Kyle and his staff, they know every single flaw or every weakness to our scheme. They've been going against it for the last 10 years. So it was really good to get a lot of the route concepts that we need to help teach the principles of our defense. And it'll start making sense to our guys, hopefully, and in terms of how it evolved and how we got to where we are, from a teaching standpoint. And, so, you know, anytime you get exposed to, tape and new systems and new bodies that you're going against, which is why I value these inter squad joint practices so much. You're going to learn something from it rather than the redundancy of playing against your own team versus the same schemes over and over again. So these days to me are gold if you can handle it the right way, and I think our guys did.
Ramon, I think that's why the Titans wanted to play and scrimmage against San Francisco right there. Yeah. The fact that Kyle Shanahan's going to know how to show them some things defensively that are going to challenge them. The positive in that is that you're going to see route combinations and combos of things that probably are built to beat your defense, and you need to see now before you see it in September. The downside is Kyle Shanahan's not the only one running this system. And if this system can exploit your weaknesses, then odds are the other offshoots of the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree are going to do similar things to exploit your weaknesses. I think that was a really interesting answer, though, and I think it shows you the intention behind what this week means for the Titans and why it was so important for the team to scrimmage San Francisco specifically.
No doubt. And to add to that too, Will, like, you do want to see yourself against one of your biggest adversaries to see how they attack you. And we still have to remember, like, this is still training camp. These adjustments and these corrections that you have to make happen in team meeting rooms. Coaches also have their staff meetings in which they have to decide, this is where we got to get stronger. We got to challenge Cody. We got to challenge Alante right here. Amani has to be in this spot. Like, this is where you build your team up to whereas you're not the finished product right now. They won't be the finished product when the season kicks off week 1 against the Jets. Like, I think it's okay for you to have a weak spot in your defense or on your team and say, we got to fix this, coaches. Because, again, I'll never let the coaches off the hook when it comes down to them coaching their guys and having them in the right situation, or having the ability to say, you know what? We can't play this guy in this position. If we're going to go nickel in this spot and we get burned, maybe we need to go dime and take him off the field. Like, there's that side of it, too, in which
for sure.
You have to make these adjustments, too. So it ain't all from the understanding of, like, hey, this is just where we're dead in the water. Like, coaches have to make adjustments, whether personnel or whether it be on scheme. And that's why I think Coach Saleh's okay with saying it out loud like that, because you're right. That's giving a strong answer to the test to a lot of guys that run no similar schemes in the NFL now.
Well, and it's, again, like, you know how I feel about this. In practice, there are times where you are running something that's not game ready in order to get it game ready. If I'm not good at a certain coverage or a certain blitz and coverage responsibilities don't make sense to my defense yet, if I'm Robert Saleh, I'm not just going to give up on that on August 12th, right? I'm going to run that in order to understand, can we practice this enough to where it works? Now, that might mean you get shredded by Brock Purdy in practice, but if that's what it takes to master a concept that you haven't mastered yet in August, then yeah, I'm going to take that trade-off every time. And again, these aren't excuses. Like,
no.
Am I a little bit worried at the secondary? Yes, I am. I'm a little bit worried that against DeMarcus Robinson and Dejon Stribling, the Titans secondary didn't have more control yesterday. Again, I understand the context of what you're saying.
True.
That
no, you're right.
A lot of these were sacks, probably in game settings, or at least full contact. Brock Purdy now understands, hey, I can't fully step into some of these throws and make them as accurate as possible because I know that Jeffrey Simmons isn't going to run by me and yell sack. He's just going to actually sack me. That being said, more footballs in the air need to be controlled and won by Cordell Flott and Alante Taylor versus wide receiver 3 and 4 for San Francisco. It sounds like that's probably the biggest concern that comes out of this practice. Is that fair?
It is fair.
100%,
man.
It's a process. Look.
And now, here's the other side of it, though, too. Like, those two units that we're speaking of, I had a good friend of mine, a huge Titans fan, just text me. It's like, I read that the Titans O-line got dominated. Like, it's easy to see the bad plays and not just see the, hey, we're just working as usual plays on the O-line and then in the secondary. O-line get exploited, we see it because the quarterback's affected by it. Secondary gets exploited, like you see it instantly because there's no coverage behind you in those moments right there. It is, in my personal opinion, besides quarterback, those two positions, secondary and offensive line, the two easiest to say you suck at. Like, it just is, you know? And, like, I feel like we're hearing that publicly now with what the Titans secondary dealt with yesterday. But I wouldn't, in my personal opinion, I'm going to ask Brad again today. We might have to get Brad on Hopkins just to see if he saw what I saw.
Get him on tomorrow.
Down to the balance of, like, when it comes down to the balance of, did they get their butts kicked yesterday? I thought the Titans pushed heavy on the 49ers, like, defense.
Well, the two things I've taken away and learned from what you have said is that the offensive line was better while Dan Moore was still practicing before he threw a punch and got ejected. So I think that's where you would start. But secondly, that while, yes, there may have been some bad plays, you also saw some mountaintops in addition to the valleys, right? There were some highlight plays from J.C. Latham that, we got to cut out the bottom 10% and the worst plays, but the best plays were maybe better than they've been in the past. Fair?
Yeah, fair.
Okay. Sure.
Yes.
What I want to ask you too. So go ahead. Yeah. Sorry, a little bit harder to communicate over the power of Zoom.
No, go ahead. I'm just super hyped behind this. Go ahead.
No, you're good. So here's what I want to ask you, because you're way more qualified to answer this question than I am. What about the Kyle Shanahan system exploits Robert Saleh's defense and his weaknesses? As it pertains to that Saleh audio we heard, where he's like, he knows all our weaknesses. So, of course, we wanted our defense to see that. What did Kyle Shanahan do to expose weaknesses in the Titans defense?
It's what I've been saying, I feel like, since we started discussing this defense. Robert Saleh's defense, and there are others that attack like this as well. I'm trying to, like, Houston, for instance, too.
Houston, very similar.
Defense, they're like bulls, okay? They're like bulls. And Shanahan's offense is like a matador, okay? Like, legitimate. You let the bull run upfield, be mean, be attacking, and then you pull the sheep from underneath them. That's what they were able to do yesterday, okay? And, like, that's what the style of defense, if you can't get home appropriately and on time, or at least apply pressure, because, again, this defense isn't just, hey, we got to get sacks. It's predicated on getting the quarterback to change his eyes and change his positioning. Well, that offense lives and thrives off of that. Play action, roll out, move the pocket, have tight ends and wide receivers coming across the field on those transcontinentals that Coach Mack speak about for those plays behind the secondary. And what it does, though, too, Will, when you have that attacking style, it makes the linebacker group suck up a little bit, right? Because they got to bite on the play action. And at that point, if they got enough time and Brock Purdy is athletic and Mac Jones is able to roll out as well, you just dump the ball over the second level of the offense right there. And if you got enough time and the defensive line has gotten upfield, again, like Bulls, and you wall them off, the quarterback can be on the right side of the offense near the sideline and throw the ball down the field because, again, if the defense hadn't got home the way you needed them to, they're going to be gassed because the secondary and the linebacker core have to hit their zones, okay? And then that's the other part, though, too. Some of those completions were underneath, and linebackers were able to make tackles up front. Like I was looking at one from Anthony Hill Jr. There was a pass completed in front of him. He was able to come downfield and attack and make a tackle. Like it is, and I don't want to say it's a bend but don't break style at the second and third level, but it is a, hey, you better be in your zone or be able to be athletic enough to come down and make a tackle for not much yak.
So misdirection and play action are the weaknesses for this defensive scheme, from what I'm hearing.
Yes, because again, it's predicated in my personal opinion. I'm probably off, but if the second level bites too hard, if the second level bites too hard, there will be zones behind them in which completions will happen. That's what you saw more than anything. Like it wasn't just a straight up routing them up where where wide receivers run a 8-yard sprint and dig on the inside. It wasn't like seam routes. It was crossing routes.
Got it. Makes sense. Yeah. And again, that's why the Titans passed on a second-round offensive lineman to get Anthony Hill Jr.
Yeah.
That's why we're so excited about James Williams' emergence at linebacker as a converted safety, as someone who can play in those zones. And it's why I just got done telling Rhett Bryan before you came on, I am most excited to watch the linebackers tomorrow night because this is a big test in everything being live of taking guys to the ground, playing with physicality, having integrity in your gaps in the run game, but then also taking a step forward in coverage because a lot is going to be asked of these linebackers in coverage in this system and in this defense.
Yes, it will be, man. And that's why, and we've said this before, and I got to give it to Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner. That's why they're so good in this defense. It's because they possess that. You have, and I think the balance is Greenlaw is your thumper that's still athletic to, attack everything within 7 yards of the line of scrimmage. And you have Fred that's able to drop back. I think it was said Gray that said he's going to have a sit down and talk with Fred Warner to see how he's mastered his defense. That's what this joint practices do as well. Like the athleticism is there. I think, and you mentioned a second ago, that's why we're seeing the emergence of James Williams. Because he's a former safety that's playing linebacker now. And in space, you need to be good, Will, in this defense. Like you have to be good and athletic in this defense.
Coming up, I want to hear from Cam Ward. Yesterday, as he spoke post-practice, he was asked, are you growing in not taking the big shot downfield? And I thought he gave a really interesting answer on a specific part of the game where he is learning to take less chances. I'll explain what I mean from Cam Ward's own words coming up next. Are you or someone you love having difficulty hearing conversations when there's background noise? Maybe you struggle to participate in conversations at cocktail parties, at a noisy restaurant, or even at your favorite sporting event? Well, I'd like to tell you about my friends at Brentwood Hearing Center. With 4 doctors of audiology, the latest diagnostic equipment, and the most recent hearing device technology, they will arrive at a hearing solution that fits your individual need. There's no one-size-fits-all, off-the-shelf hearing aid that works for everyone. Brentwood Hearing Center is different. They're going to talk to you, learn where you are challenged to hear, perform diagnostic testing, and demonstrate devices that will help you in those situations where you find it most difficult to hear. Give them a call today at 615-377-0420 or reach out to them via their website at BrentwoodHearingCenter.com. Again, that's 615-377-0420, Brentwood Hearing Center. Better hearing, better life. Wrapping up hour number 3, Ramon and Will dividing and conquering this morning. Tomorrow, back in the same room. in San Francisco, California, as we get ready to broadcast Titans and 49ers tomorrow night on Titans Radio. Titans Radio coverage at 7 o'clock Central, kickoff at 8. I'm pumped. I want to talk more about this in hour 4, and we'll talk more about it, obviously, tomorrow. I'm so ready to watch some football and call a football game again. I am ready to go. The hay is in the barn over here in our studio in Nashville, and we've got a great show planned and a great first preseason game, we hope, on the field as well.
We hope, but then here's the thing: like, you want to win every matchup to the end because you want to set a tone for what wins and losses means, or being competitive. But like, this is these preseason games, man, are for evaluation of players. Like, your team may end up losing these, but you want to see certain guys, whether that be Nick Singleton, have a good game. You want to see certain guys step up. The first unit have some good moments about it as well. Like, this is still an evaluation side of the football team and figuring out who your 53 is going to be. So that's just always the context that I kind of lead with when it comes down to preseason games. Like, winning matters. How you execute, not just with your first group, but with the second and third group also matters. Like, there's a part of it where you want to see Levis Will command the huddle.
Absolutely,
like,
you do.
He's still being evaluated, and that's the other part of what these games are and how you got to kind of go about it a little bit.
I want to hear from Cam Ward yesterday, asked by Teron Davenport, are you growing in not always taking the big shot downfield? Some good answers from Cam yesterday.
Yeah, for sure. Especially on third down. We got a lot of guys from tight ends and running backs who can get a lot of, yak. And I think the more that I can continue to manipulate the defense or continue to drop back on the 37, 35, I can throw it 2 yards and then run for the other 3.
Trubisky was talking about those third and long situations and how, you want to get the first down, but sometimes you got to go through it and think about, let's make it a manageable fourth down. Mm-hmm. So how much have you started to apply that? What do you think of what he said there?
I applied a lot to it, especially depending on the play, where the outlet is, if they have a running start to get the first down or not, whether it's a go. Then Coach Dave was always in my ear telling me what I needed to get if we're going for it on fourth down. So it's a little bit of everything. Sometimes we have to be aggressive, trying to get all the third and longs. I have to throw it to the stick. Sometimes I can check down.
So I think, Ramon, what I hear from Cam Ward is a trust in the players around him to turn a 3-yard pass on 3rd and 7 into a first down conversion. I think that's a good step in the right direction. It's not always going to work out that way, but it feels to me like there is a confidence from Cam Ward that he doesn't have to do this by himself. And I thought at times his actions made it seem like he did feel like he needed to do things by himself last season.
I mean, if you look at his pathway to where he's at right now, that's been his life. His life has been be the man, will your team to a win, show them how to do it. And in the NFL, that's not the case. Like, guys are paid handsomely to help Cam, to be an assistance to him. So, yeah, him taking, the 5 yard for the yak afterwards better than him having a 60-yard bomb in the air for an incompletion just because he feels pressed to go do it. I feel like when talking about this conversation with him, to where you want to see him not just grow into being a player, but growing into being a quarterback.
Yes.
Like what TD asked him, and his answer was like, man, I'm playing a position. And you don't want to hurt your team by feeling like it's my show. Like, this ain't David Ruffin and the Temptations. This is Cam Ward. This is the Tennessee Titans, not Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans. Is the way you look at that thing, man. So I'm glad to kind of hear him voice that, because that lets me know he has an understanding of what this role is moving forward.
Jim Wyatt had Cam Ward at 16 of 23 yesterday with an interception. He completed his first 5 passes. He was good in a red zone period where he connected with Calvin Ridley and Tony Pollard for touchdowns near the goal line. I know the team put out a video, too, of Xavier Restrepo with a touchdown catch from Cam Ward as well. Big week for Restrepo, and every week is a big week for Restrepo with how crowded the wide receiver room is at this point. Jim Wyatt also says Ward also missed some throws, and his interception was a ball that was behind Wan'Dale Robinson. A Hail Mary pass fell incomplete in the final period of practice when the Titans got the ball down 25-21 with 50 seconds left. That was the situation they were given, but failed to score. Jim Wyatt also says one issue that troubled Cam Ward and the offense was the offensive line's inability to protect. There were 49ers in the face of Titans quarterbacks on several occasions in practice as the team worked through a number of different combinations for one reason or another. You were on the record that one of those reasons was Dan Moore throwing a punch and getting thrown out of practice.
Yeah, in that last period, so I'll be honest with you, Jim reporting on that, like, it just looked like the energy was dead and shot at that point on that last drive. That was nothing.
Not maybe energy-wise, but I feel like that's kind of the script that's happened for the offense, Ramon. Like, they'll start really fast. I think they've been really good in the red zone. And then as practice will go, we've seen the Titans defense kind of start to get better as practice goes against them. And it sounds like that happened again yesterday, just against a different opponent.
I would say it was exactly that. Like, looking at that last period, that is the one part that's like, what is this?
Not a good finish.
It wasn't a good finish. And like that, if that is the issue, whether that be just guys are just dog tired because fights, and I say that as you expend a lot of energy fighting and yelling and fussing and cussing. But that might need to be an emphasis moving forward is we gotta have the same sprint going through the finish line. And I didn't think that last period, I'm 100% with Jimmy on that and others. That last period wasn't something you want on tape, not even a little bit. Just that trend is never good.
615-737-1045, our number. There is a player starting to earn a closer look at being a starter. Robert Saleh talked about him yesterday, and we'll ask Ramon Foster to talk about him as we begin Hour 4, coming up next.
When you start noticing cracks in the walls, uneven floors, or driveways sinking and separating, it's more than a home issue. It's a peace of mind issue. That's why who you choose for foundation repair, concrete leveling, it really matters. I trust United Structural Systems because they've been doing this the right way since 1994, right here in Tennessee. And USS, they don't believe in quick fixes or scare tactics at all. They take the time to inspect, explain what is happening, and walk you through real proven solutions that are built to last. Whether your home needs foundation stabilization, crawl space repair, or concrete leveling for sinking sidewalks, patios, or driveways, USS uses engineered systems designed for long-term performance, not temporary patches. USS, they're offering several payment options for you to make your foundation repairs more affordable. You can choose one of the following, where you can get 10% discount when you pay in full, or fix it now and pay it later with 18 months, no interest, no payments, or you can choose the 36 months, no interest with low payment options for qualified homeowners. USS, they're dedicated to helping their customers get the repairs they need now to protect their greatest investment for a lifetime, and that is your home. They're dependable, they're trustworthy, they're USS. So give them a call or learn more by heading over to USSTN.com.
9:02. Good morning, live from the Circus Sports at the Mid-Kentucky Downs studio. I'm Justin Hawkins. A chippy day yesterday as the Titans and 49ers wrapped up their joint practice in Santa Clara. Titans head coach Robert Saleh met with the media following practice, saying John Franklin Myers and Jackie Marshall both dealing with some injuries, but hopeful to get them back next week. Cordell Flott was limited with a bruise. Jacob Martin left early in practice with a knee injury. Meanwhile, both offensive tackles, Austin Deculus and Dan Moore Jr., both kicked out for fighting. Robert Saleh also said yesterday that everyone will play in the preseason game, including starters, on Thursday against the 49ers, and not just one series. Other NFL news yesterday, the Vikings, they named Kyler Murray as their starting quarterback for the NFL season, leaving former first-round draft pick J.J. McCarthy to be the backup. Murray becomes the Vikings' fourth different starter in the past 4 seasons. Tonight, Nashville FC, they take on CF Monterrey in the final match of Phase 1 in League Cup play. Kickoff tonight is at 7 p.m. at Geodis Park here in Nashville. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
There is a player with a rising stock price right now at Tennessee Titans training camp who may be a day one rookie starter for the team. As hour 4 begins, Ramon Foster and Will Boulding. Ramon is in San Francisco. I am here in Nashville for a couple more hours before I head out there to join him and the team for Titans and 49ers tomorrow night. Ramon, before we get to that, did you see this major breaking news just about 3 minutes ago?
No, I did not. Well, what happened?
The Los Angeles Lakers are being sold to American businessman Josh Kushner and former Disney CEO Bob Iger for a record-breaking price. Do you want to guess what the Lakers are selling for, according to ESPN?
$14 billion.
Close. $12 billion. Billion with a B.
Yeah.
Record-breaking price.
It's the Lakers. I mean, that's forever is going to make money no matter what the cost may be. There was the conversation a few years ago. I think it was Jeannie Buss is the daughter.
Yes.
That was, kind of removing the Lakers family, I guess the original family from the franchise a little bit. And this was a part of that conversation as well. So I'm not totally shocked by it, but it's the Lakers. You're never supposed to let go of that. Is the way I look at that situation.
That's a pretty seismic sale in the sports business world, and it sets the market for these major market teams. It's actually the same day. I think it was Kyle Brandt who had just tweeted this from now ESPN and NFL Network, Kyle Brandt, that the Dallas Cowboys are once again the most valuable franchise in sports. Do you want to guess what they are valued at, according to Sportico?
I think I recently just saw it, but are they at about like $11.2 billion?
The Cowboys would be more than the Lakers because the Lakers were just 12.
Really?
Cowboys are the most valuable franchise in sports for the, I don't know how many years, but apparently they have been the most valuable franchise in sports in every iteration of Sportico doing these valuations. $15.5 billion.
Jeez.
The value of the Dallas football Cowboys.
Didn't he buy that for like $400,000, Jerry Jones?
I don't think it was that little. Let's see. Jerry Jones' original Cowboys purchase price. It's definitely something that's insane. He bought them for $140 million in 1989.
Okay. Insane.
And now they're worth $15 billion. I mean, that's a lot of Whataburger wrappers that have been tossed into trash cans in his office that he can buy with plenty of money.
Did you see now that what the average price of NFL teams are as well too? The average.
I did not see that. What is it?
Last year's prices, I think it was said. I'm trying to find the original, but it was like $7.8 billion was the average.
Is it 10 now?
Price of the NFL team. It's $9.89 billion.
There you go.
Per team.
Business is booming. Business is booming. And you could make it even more if you added another regular season game, couldn't you?
It's all we've been preaching, Will. It's all we've been preaching. 18 is on the way.
It is absolutely on the way. Robert Saleh yesterday was asked about Fernando Carmona getting some early reps at the right guard position. Robert Saleh had this to say yesterday, and there's also a question here. You'll hear a second answer about where Jackson Slater fits into this dialogue as well.
You got to earn it to be able to get in there. He's been doing a nice job. But like I said, with that right guard spot, we're going to keep working to try to find the best player for it.
Slater's.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts. We're trying to find the right combination for that O-line. Feel good about the first unit. That right guard's got to get solidified. But overall, just a lot of guys are going to get opportunities at that thing.
Robert Saleh yesterday. So he says that Fernando Carmona has earned it. A closer look at being the Tennessee Titans starting right guard. How, Ramon, from what you have seen on the practice field, how has Fernando Carmona earned this opportunity?
Just being toe-to-toe with Cordell Volson. Just point blank. If you're a young guy and you're close to a vet, the young guy usually kind of edges it out. And you mentioned, and Coach Saleh did too, he's working with the ones, and he's been in there with them from time to time. And I know they got a rotation going, and that's where I want to see it kind of move forward. Will is okay. What happens next week against the Seahawks? Will they be in a position in which that'll be Jackson Slater in there? Will Cordell Volson move back up? But as it stands, Carmona has been rocking, and the part in which I think he could potentially keep that spot or earn that spot still in this competition is if he is more physical with his size and imposing than the other two guys. That is the one part of Fernando Carmona's game that I think is, I don't even want to call it super unique, but it's just a bonus for him. He has an affinity for physicality. And that's where, if you're young, you better possess that. You better be in a spot in which, if I don't know the plays every single time, I better mash somebody's face. And I will say in this offense, watching even Coach Dable in years past, the guys are kind of big and they're mean. That's what we spoke about when he was drafted here. And the other side of that, too, is the young guy stuff that will hurt him. And those drives at the end of the game, it was him that jumped off sides.
Yep, couple of false starts.
Have that. You cannot have the false starts. Those mental errors and gotta have it moments is where your behind will get benched. But Will, we mentioned this group going to be nasty. And whoever possesses that trait first, especially as a young guy, I can mold the rest of them. I'll make him into a vase or ashtray later. But if you possess the nastiness, that's going to get him on the field, because that is the one separator that I think that this group needs. And I will say this as well, as I spoke about J.C. Latham earlier. That is what I think this right side is going to be. Bash Brothers, and you're going to have the finesse guys on the left side, man. I think that balance would be awesome if your right side was dominant like that.
I think, Ramon, we could get a hint on who the right guard battle is between in tomorrow's preseason game, not just from how Fernando Carmona and Cordell Volson play, but I wonder if Jackson Slater gets a bit more work at center moving forward. And I think if we start to see Jackson Slater snapping the ball more, that's an indication that Fernando Carmona has passed Jackson Slater in the right guard competition.
No doubt about it. And also to incorporate Pat Coogan in this as well. I think you get a real clear understanding of where he actually is. The other part, Will, that I'm looking at, just because of the depth chart that was released, the unofficial one, what if Jackson Slater is only working left guard?
I think at this point, Jackson Slater is who I have penciled in as of today. Things can change, but right now I think Jackson Slater is penciled in as the interior swing backup offensive lineman who can play right guard, center, or left guard. And you have two players battling for right guard, Fernando Carmona and Cordell Volson.
And I like Carmona.
I think they would prefer for him to win this job and take it and run with it.
It's on him.
It feels like that to me. That totally just my opinion. That coaching staff hasn't told me that, but it feels kind of obvious, right? You would rather the young player that you just drafted prove to you that he's ready to start in week one. And I know there's probably not another market in the NFL talking more about the starting right guard battle than we are here in Tennessee. But we have also seen how one weak link of an offensive line can make a unit that needs to be improved and we think is improved totally just the same. And if they get right guard wrong, Cam Ward's development takes a hit, and all of a sudden this offense is in 3rd and 10 and 3rd and 12, and we're thinking about averaging 17 points a game this year. I mean, it maybe isn't the flashiest and sexiest position, but it is a vital position for this football team, and it is a major, big ol' in Sharpie question mark right now. So that is why we are talking about right guard so much.
I saw a play yesterday. I was thinking back on reps, and I think it was in that 2 minute as well. They're in one-on-one sets, like JC's in a one-on-one, Carmona, all across the board. I think they went 5 down the way I kind of saw it be delegated. It was a linebacker at the line of scrimmage. And Fernando had a 3 technique on him that kind of beat him inside. What I did see was, he got beat. And I was even talking to Hoppy too, Brad Hopkins. Was like, is that a pressure? Is that a sack? He's like, I think it's a little bit of pressure, but it's not a loss. He ended up running a guy by. Cam ended up getting flushed out of the pocket. And I think Cam had like an 8-yard, 10-yard run for a first down on that play. Like, there's those points right there in which Carmona possesses that, one, his size, but also the idea that he knows how to finish blocks, even when you're in a one-on-one situation. I thought that was a good move by him. Like, technically, you want him to be cleaner, keep him at the line of scrimmage, but it allowed Cam to get like an 8 to 10-yard run to move the chains as well.
Coming up, Ramon, are you ready for it to feel like a Friday a little bit?
A little bit. I like that.
Because coming up next, our normal Friday 7:20 guest joins us, Brent Hubbs of AllQuest. He's got fresh nuggets for us. Do you want a 12-piece, a 20-piece, or should we just get some kind of big family style, Ramon, to split of Vols camp nuggets?
Man, let's share family style.
Let's do
got
it.
Friends in the chat that want to eat off the plate too. Let's do that.
Family style practice nuggets from a practice that just ended. How about that? You get fresh out of the fryer Vols nuggets from VolQuest's Brent Hubbs coming up next.
A day at the spa, the perfect gift for birthdays, anniversaries, or any occasion. Lavish and luxurious, yet affordable. A grand gesture, yet simple for you. The gift card from A Moment's Peace. Give her the gift she won't buy herself. An escape, a bit of luxury. Something special that shows more than just words. A gift from A Moment's Peace Salon and Day Spa in Cool Springs across I-65 from Galleria Mall. Call 615-224-0770 or go online at amomentspeace.com anytime.
Ramon and Will continues on this Wednesday morning from San Francisco. Ramon Foster here in Nashville, myself, Will Bowling. It just feels like a Friday when we hear the best era of country music, which only means on this show that we are joined by our good friend Brent Hubbs of All Quested on 3. Brent, we appreciate the flexibility this morning as we move things around Titans preseason. Happy Wednesday to you this morning. How are you?
Yeah, happy hump day to you guys. And I'm ready to go. Well, Tennessee is going through a full padded practice as we speak, and then they will go a little lighter on Friday and then have their first major scrimmage on Saturday, which is obviously a pivotal day for Tennessee's quarterbacks. So it's a good Wednesday here. It's a nice, cool morning in East Tennessee. Probably not what the coaching staff wants from a conditioning standpoint, but players are in heaven right now.
Ramon started the show when he joined me an hour ago and said it's in the low 60s right now in California. Bring a hoodie when you get here, which I already forgot to do. So, he has been making me feel very jealous because it's already about to 85 here.
Yeah, it's actually nice here today. It's a little overcast in Knoxville, so it's a good day here for these guys. They're getting a lot of good work in. It's obviously practices like this are really important for everybody, but certainly for a young defensive line that Rodney Garner is trying to pull his way to getting ready to play and making sure that these young guys understand the urgency they need to have. So this is an important day for them. It's a big day for the offensive line as well. Anytime you're getting in the trenches and getting a little more physical when you're in full gear, it's important for those guys. So Tennessee trying to take advantage today.
Well, Brent, you guys have been consistent with us in every conversation we've had about this quarterback battle that nothing was decided between June to the end of July. And narratives are just that, narratives. This is very much a competition between George McIntyre and Faison Brandon. Have we learned anything through a week, Brent, about where these two guys stand? Austin got our attention a little bit when he joined us Monday saying, hey, the reports are, and everything we're hearing is that George has had a good start so far to fall camp.
Yeah, I think you have to be careful, and I'm not saying Austin did anything wrong in any way, but I mean, when you say somebody had a good camp, or is having a good camp, the first notion is the other guy's having a bad camp, and that's just not the case. Faison's doing well, and George is doing well. I think George finished off spring practice on a much better note than how he started spring practice. And I think he's carried that over into the start of fall camp. I think Austin and I have talked about it on a lot of our positional preview stuff and different things we've done. When the narrative shifted this summer that a lot of people were anointing Faison as the starter, but that he was projected by a lot of people to be the starter, and he may very well end up being the starter. The expectations and the pressure for Faison changed. He was playing with house money in spring practice because nobody knew what to expect. The expectation with George was you better not let the gap get closed, right? Don't let him close the gap on you. You've got to use these 15 days to widen the gap. So all the pressure was on George. I think right now the roles are a little bit reversed in that there's an expectation level for Faison that wasn't there 5 months ago. And, with George, he's not playing with house money, but he's, in the eyes of a lot of people, he was the outsider, or he's the guy who was trying to make up so much ground. I think both of them have been good. I watched Routes versus Air this morning, and what we got to see, I thought both of them had a solid day. It wasn't perfect by any means, but both of them had a good morning getting loose and throwing. We'll see how they do the rest of practice today. But this was always going to come down to the scrimmage work. That's what it came down to last year. That's what it'll come down to this year. Saturday is the first of two major scrimmages, and coming out of those two major scrimmages will be who the starter is. Now, the question's going to be, is he the starter clear-cut all the way through, or is he going to start the first game? And Josh Heupel should play both of them in the first game anyway, and things could change after that. We'll see. But it will start to be decided on Saturday when Tennessee scrimmages for the first time.
We're joined by Brent Hubbs of All Quested on 3 this morning. Hubbs, when you look at these two guys and the groups that they're working with, are they even split on the reps with the ones and reps with the twos? And I guess the biggest question I would have is who's elevating that second group, or is everything they're doing in this competition just so interchangeable with the offensive line, wide receivers, running back, and whatnot, on how you judge who's having success with either group?
Well, I think they're splitting reps. Now, we'll see how they divide it up on Saturday. who gets what. I'm imagining that they will split that up, and both guys will get opportunities with the ones, and both guys will get opportunities with the twos. And you watch routes versus air, and they'll start one run of routes, and it'll be George taking the first reps, and then the next time they reset it, it will be Faison taking the first set of reps. So, they calculate that where, guys are throwing to the quote number one receivers an equal amount of time. And, they do the same thing when they get into 11-on-11 work, or they get to working with the offensive line as well. So it's a very even split. Now, what does that split look like on Saturday? And does that split change during the scrimmage on Saturday? Because, here's the thing. You script it out, but if somebody's somebody's hot, you got something going and you want to see more, maybe you adjust what the rotation looks like on Saturday. Maybe you don't. And then obviously what they do on Saturday and how they perform next week will dictate what that looks like the following Saturday for the final major scrimmage. So it's pretty even right now. That's why I think it's important to say, somebody's doing well, both of them are doing fine. It's going to be the scrimmage stuff that determines who wins the starting quarterback job. Not a routes versus air period, or not who goes out there first to start practice or anything like that.
For sure. On the other side of the ball, the guys getting after the quarterbacks, man, how is that young mature group looking so far, man, with Ethan Utley, Nathan Robinson, Weathersby, and a young guy, Marion Dye? Are they taking that step that Rodney Garner, asked of them? Because I know that's a hard ask for a guy like him.
Yeah, the answer to that's going to be no. Rodney Garner is going to meet the media here in about 20, 30 minutes, and I don't expect that there will be rays of sunshine from Rodney Garner about his defensive line today. I think Xavier Gillum continues to do well. I think Jordan Norman has done well as a defensive end at this point. I think that he's looking for more out of Utley. He's looking for more out of Dye. I think Nathan Robinson's done some good things. I think he's looking for more out of Hobbs. But I think that was always going to be the case. Okay, that's Rodney. That I think Rodney wants and is pushing for the expectations and the urgency to be where he wants it to be, which nobody can probably ever match that urgency that he has. So I would imagine we're going to get a lot of "we're not very good today" from Rodney Garner, but we'll see. Maybe he comes in and, he's rainbows and unicorns and a ray of sunshine today, which would be the first time I've seen that out of him in 30-something years of knowing that guy. So my guess is no. I think it's a pretty safe calculation, right? I think it's a pretty safe market percentage to say he's probably not going to be coming in saying a lot of great things today. But I've been surprised before, but it would be a real shocker today.
That's the way we like Rodney Garner, Brent. We don't want him any other way.
Listen, if Rodney Garner's happy, something's wrong. Okay, that means something's not going well. That's just the way it is. And I love him. I love the guy. But if he's not grumbling about something, then he's probably not having a good day. So I think grumbling means he's having a good day. So we'll see how he is in a little bit.
Hubs, with that being said about looking and smiling and having a good day, man, this guy's just a high caliber athlete and just player coming out of high school in general. But David Sanders Jr. doesn't look like he has a bad day any day of his life. His social media content, the smile, the way he looks, the way he's practicing, Hubs, legitimately, is he the real deal and taking that next step that we thought he would in the preseason version of 2026?
Yeah, I think he's in a different place. I think he's out of survival mode. I think he's into thrive mode. Listen, he's very calculated as a business person. He gets the NIL part of it, so there's where you see a lot of the social media stuff. But the thing David loves playing college football, and he really likes being at Tennessee. He's very happy. He's also very pleased with where he has progressed to physically. Again, last year he acknowledges that it was just try to throw on weight any way you can and sort of survive. And, he's had a full off-season program with a clear plan under Derek Owens that he thinks is going to make him a lot better player. And, I think he is rolling with a ton of confidence and rolling with a lot of joy right now. And that's an interesting room from the standpoint of, to me, it's as deep and as competitive as they've been in certain spots. But then you look at other spots and you know it's pretty anchored into where they are. But David Sanders Jr. and Jesse Perry have certainly taken the lead in that room as being the leaders and being the guys everybody looks up to. And both of them have done a nice job. But certainly David doesn't have many bad days, that's for sure.
Man, Hubs, you bring up Derek Owens, man. We talked about the offseason, the springtime, and everything else. What does that role look like for him moving forward, the maintenance part of retaining what they've kind of kept? Has he gone into details a little bit about that in this time around for him?
Well, he's very hands-on on the practice field, or not, shouldn't say hands-on. He's very visible on the practice field, taking a lot of notes. He's keeping a log of the GPS. He's keeping a log of all the scientific stuff, the load that guys are under and how much work they've had, where they're at in the heat, where they're at in the non-hot days like today, how much they need to run, all those things that are a part of his plan of keeping legs and putting them in the position they need to be to continue to build throughout this month, and then obviously maintain and build some in the fall as well. You heard Glenn Ellerbe talking yesterday when he met the media, talking about his offensive line, and he said, listen, we weren't great in the first half of the season, but we were pretty good. He said, but we completely wilted the back half of the season as an offensive line. Our tank wasn't full enough. And so Derek Owens is very hands-on with Glenn Ellerbe, and he's very hands-on with position coaches about, are you getting enough output, or are guys maximizing to build their tank up? Because they're looking at this from a 4-month process and not a 4-week process. So how can I be completely fresh late in the year and not just fresh the first couple of weeks of the year? Because one of the things Indiana cited, noted, and a lot of people gave them credit for is they did not look like a tired football team down the stretch last year. Now, some people will say that's schedule related. But when they got into the playoffs, that was a very fresh-looking football team that seemed to have a lot of pop about them, and Derek Owens gets a lot of credit for that.
Brent Hubbs of VolQuest, our guest this morning on Ramon and Will. Brent, have there been any pleasant surprises so far? Anyone maybe you didn't expect to see flash who's impressed you so far?
Aside from getting to talk to me on a Wednesday?
Yeah, absolutely.
Come on. I think that I think Jeremiah Telander has been a surprise. I don't know exactly what the role's going to be, but I think there's a little bit of a niche role for him that Jim Knowles is carving out. Certainly those safeties, they were a surprise in the spring, but they have not taken a step back or missed a beat in any way, shape, or form. I think TJ Metcalf's been really good to start camp. I mean, Travis Smith has been better than he was in the spring. Does that mean he's going to be the number 3? I don't know about that, but he has had a nice start to things for this fall camp. And then I think TK Keys is a guy that you're watching every day on the practice field. He looks a little different every day because his confidence is starting to grow. He's healthy. He's 100% healthy. He's making some plays. Deshaun Brame's been great in the passing game. I think the question is, what does he look like on a day like today when it's full pads and, you're in that C area or that inline tight end work and you've got to drive a defensive end off the ball or you got to pick up a blitzing linebacker. Where is he at from a physicality standpoint? That's why today and Saturday and full contact days are really important to him. But athletically, yeah, that guy's a freak of nature now. He can certainly do some different things. And then one final one is this storyline with Luka Wolf, the freshman from the NFL Academy, who's just in his 3rd year of football. Luka's about 260 pounds right now as a tight end. He doesn't look it. He's got a lot of natural physicality to him. He's still learning what all to do. But I think he's a guy who can play on special teams. And I think he's a guy that you're probably going to look at being, spotting some snaps here and there. They were not afraid to play a freshman last year in Van Dorselaer in critical situations. You might see Luka Wolf earlier in this process than a lot of people thought. I thought a lot of people thought that he would be a red shirt, which you don't red shirt anymore, but a guy who didn't play very much. I think he's going to have a bigger role than we all thought he was going to have when he signed with Tennessee.
Brent, I remember saying that about Miles Kitselman when he transferred in from Alabama, and obviously we know the history on how quickly he became a big part of the offense. Obviously, some differences there. He'd played a lot of football and had been in a system and a program that had prepared him for a jump up. But I think that's an interesting one. To the TK Keys point, Brent, the second I saw that one-handed catch from the Tennessee football social media account, we knew the hype was going to go up, right? on TK Keys making a highlight play like that.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not saying that because of that one play.
Of course.
You can just tell. And Ramon, you know this. You can just tell when the light bulb's starting to flicker a little brighter and it's starting to come on a little bit. There's a little bit different pep in your step. There's a little bit different, you're moving to the front of the line a little faster because you know the answer to the question a little bit more. And I think TK Keys is starting to feel like he's got the answers to the questions, and the physical ability's always been there. I think once you get the confidence to employ with those physical traits, then you see a guy who's looking to do more, and I think you're seeing a guy do more every day on the practice field from a production standpoint.
Hubs, when you also look at a young guy like Gabriel Ascenda, I saw you wrote that he's kind of trying to ingest as much as he possibly can from Coach Ellaby, man. That swing tackle, just the development side of Ellaby's game is always going to be a part of his job. But what is Gabe looking like, man, so far? He's a big body and a big project.
Well, he's a big, massive human being who's got a lot of athletic ability and physical skill. He's still got a lot to learn, but it's clear the investment there. They think he's a guy who can really help them. And maybe he's a tackle now that moves into later on in life being a guard. I don't know where his long-term future is, but I think when you look at him, that's how you want to draw him up, because he is a good-looking player who with a big learning capacity. He's really, really smart, but he really wants to learn. And you see him. It's interesting. You're talking about David Sanders Jr. earlier. If those two are not in a rep, and they're standing there and waiting for their turn, Gabe is right next to David, and he is peppering him with questions. He is asking a lot of questions, really trying to learn, a lot of extra film for him, but he is very, very inquisitive and trying to learn as much mentally about the position as he can. And Glenn Ellerby recognizes that, and that's why when there's opportunities, you see Gabe get some one-on-one time, whether it's with Glenn or a couple of his assistants, but because Gabe's asking a lot of questions. So he's taking a lot of coaching right now. It's kind of fun to watch.
Matt Hubbs, one last one for me, man. What is the spring, the fall camp kind of look like for a guy like Deshaun Bishop? It's a package him up and just wait for the first game of the season, get him through it. And then the other side of that as well, like with this ground game that they have, is there much room for a DeJuan Morris out of Murfreesboro here with his skill set? Are they going to, try to transition him out as more of a scat back type of guy, or is there much room for him?
Yeah, I think there's room for him. He's competing with Javon Gordon for snaps, but behind Deshaun Bishop. He has a specialty skill, or has a skill set that Gordon doesn't have in terms of some of the stuff he can do in the open field. And we've seen Darrell Sims play three backs. So, I think that you could see DeJuan Morris in some situational stuff, and then we'll kind of see how it plays out throughout the year. Gordon has not done anything wrong. In fact, I think his experience and, he's a bit more of a complete back right now in terms of being able to run between the tackles. But those two guys are competing, and they're going to get plenty of reps and should get plenty of reps, because I'd put Deshaun Bishop in bubble wrap, and I'd tell him I'd see him at Furman. I know everybody says, well, you need contact, but, you need contact work. Well, I get contact work against Furman on the 5th of September, and that'd be enough contact work for me. I wouldn't. He may get a few carries in a scrimmage just because he's begging for some, because he wants some contact work just to get his body right. And I get that. Maybe they do a handful of those that way, but he is not going to get a heavy workload in 11-on-11 work. Now, he's doing all the individual stuff and the fundamental stuff there, but he is not going to get beat up, nor should they beat him up heading into the season opener. So, yeah, you're going to bubble wrap him as much as you can. I'm assuming he'll dress for the scrimmage on Saturday and might get a couple of carries. Out of one of these two scrimmages, they'll get him a series or so, I think, to just let him get a feel for it. But After that, you're not going to you're not going to beat that guy up because you need him ready to go. Particularly with a young quarterback where you may have to lean on the run game a good bit, particularly on the road against Georgia Tech in week 2. That's why I'm saying his prep work should be Furman, but I'm not in charge. They don't pay me $9 million a year to make those decisions. So I can play that. I did sleep at a Holiday Inn, so I can play those decision-making roles, but that's not what they're paying me to do. But I'd put him in bubble wrap if he was me.
I love it. Brett Hubbs of VolQuest with us Wednesday this week. And we have just on our Twitter at Ramon and Will retweeted the deal that you guys have going on right now, Brett. 75% off for your first year for a VolQuest subscription. You guys are really helping the people out. And you've got all the nuggets fresh out of the fryer, like right now, all the time on the General's Quarters. You guys are giving a deal to everybody.
Yeah, we are. We got practice highlights up right now. We've got camp intel up from practice this morning. We've got some projections on the offensive line, some other things on the offensive line. We'll have Rodney Garner later today, and you can get all that for about 8 cents a day.
Wow.
Even Ramon Foster can find 8 cents. In that clean, magnificent truck of his, he might find 8 cents laying around somewhere for me. It's 8 cents a day is about what it averages out to. So for $30 for a year, you're going to get for $30. You're going to get the next 365 days, which means you're going to get football season, the portal madness, basketball, baseball, basketball portal, baseball portal, and right back into fall camp next year. So there's no better deal than what we're offering right now. If you're not a member, you should certainly take advantage of it.
Absolutely, you should. Full endorsement on that from us. And yes, his truck is always spotless in our parking lot. I always know when Ramon is at the station. Brett Hubbs of VolQuest, our guest. Brett, appreciate you and your flexibility again this week. Appreciate the time as always.
All right, sounds good, guys. We'll talk to you next week. See you guys.
Yes, sir. Brett Hubbs with us this morning, presented by Ascend Federal Credit Union, your financial partner for every stage of life. If you are a Vols fan and don't have a VolQuest subscription, you have got to get in on that. It is a must have. And I know there are a lot of people that are nodding their heads right now because they're also VolQuest subscribers who tune in specifically to hear Brett Hubbs and Austin Price when they're on our show.
Yes, they do, man. And again, like I said, if you don't want to listen to us, Hubbs is just giving you the key right now to just say, I'll just go read instead of listen to the jabronis.
The jabronis is right. It is funny. I tell this story from time to time, but last year, a guy stopped me at a Tennessee game. I was like, "Hey man, you're Will from the Zone, right?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I am." And I don't say this to brag about me. I say it to brag about VolQuest because he goes, "Oh yeah, I listen to you guys all the time because I'm a big Brett Hubbs fan." And I was like, "Yes, you are. Yes, you are because you, sir, know ball as a big Brett Hubbs fan." Brent is very humble and will be like, "Oh gosh, that guy sounds like an idiot." If he was on with us, probably something to that effect. But he was like, "Oh, I'm a big Brett Hubbs fan. I listen to everything that those guys do and read all the VolQuest stuff. So I listen to you guys all the time when you have on those guys." Like, you know what? We will take it. We will absolutely.
You should have told them we are also Brent Hubbs fans.
Absolutely right. We're presidents of the Brent Hubbs fan club. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, we are, man. No doubt about it. Hubbs is good, man. I'm glad to hear that this competition, though, is more even than I think social media has told us also between George and Faison.
Right, because I think anytime you compliment one, as Brent perfectly just laid out, it doesn't necessarily mean you're criticizing the other. So
no, it doesn't.
We'll hit headlines on the way out. Final look around the league as we get you out here before we hit the road. Coming up next. Wrapping up the show under Ramon and Will. I'm headed off to California here shortly. I will see you later tonight, Mr. Foster.
Looking forward to it, man.
It'll be fun.
By the time you get here, it'll be nice. It'll be crisp outside.
Yes.
Where we're at, like the traffic isn't that bad as far as you guys getting to our destination, so it'll be nice and easy for you, man.
When we were there this past season, there were the most people I've ever seen in a downtown area. Being partly sarcastic. All right, so have you seen this from Adam Schefter on Twitter? Do you see what he's doing?
Is he doing the old scheme of playing agents and players between each other? What is he doing this time?
He's doing that, and he's playing Michigan man. Because yesterday the Vikings named Kyler Murray their starting quarterback, and no one's surprised by this. It was never a very real competition in Minnesota. When you fire the general manager who drafted one of the guys in the competition, odds are that typically doesn't bode well for the guy who was drafted and is in the competition. So Adam Schefter tweets for his original tweet yesterday. ESPN sources, the Vikings have named Kyler Murray their starting quarterback. And then here's his quote tweet. Adam Schefter, a very famous Michigan Wolverine fan and Michigan alumnus, sends the following tweet. J.J. McCarthy missed his entire rookie season due to injury and started just 10 games last year, with Minnesota winning 6 of them. Now, the still only 23-year-old will be forced to be a backup. Adam, brother, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, you got to leave the Michigan bias at the door, Adam Schefter, when you're talking about J.J. McCarthy. The guy stunk out loud last season and was never going to be the starter this year.
No doubt, man. It seems to me that the Michigan clan have kind of gotten to Adam and say, hey, take care of our brother. Take care of Big Blue.
I don't think anyone needs to tell him. I just think this is the way Adam Schefter is.
And that's where, like you said, doing the job, that's when you're supposed to be just a reporter nationally, especially with no favorites and stuff like that. Having favorites kind of dampens your job a little bit, right? Kind of dents the role that you're in right now. Just say what it is. Like, JJ is a grown man. He'll be all right, won't he? Like, he know how to handle this heat. And if he was, less worried about going 9 and all that type of stuff and actually make a completion, then he'd be all right. Like, the NFL is not a nice league to guys that don't know how to play it.
JJ is living. 9 is dead. 9 is dead. It's like those superhero movies where, like, the alter ego dies and just, like, the regular, like, he lost his powers. Like, 9, as we know it, gone forever.
Turn it into a 6.
Yeah. Turn the 6 upside down, it's a 9 now. Yeah, turn the 9 up right side up, it's a 6 now. What if the next team he goes to, he needs to wear 6? When the Steelers trade for J.J. McCarthy, just give him number 6. Turn the 9 upside down.
Man, I'm sure you saw it on social media, but that's been a big, well, I ain't gonna say a big topic. It's been kind of been sprinkled in on social media about the development of young quarterbacks in the NFL right now. I mean, people get it wrong. But here's the thing. They've been getting it wrong. I know this is a quarterback discussion, but it happens everywhere.
Yeah, it does. I mean, Kevin O'Connell's as good at quarterback development as anybody, though. If he can't help you, then I don't know who can. To be honest,
I love it. Yeah, that's true.
Back at it tomorrow morning on a Titans preseason game day. We will be no longer dividing and conquering. We will be in the same room tomorrow.
United.
In San Francisco, California. Ramon, I'll see you soon.
No doubt, man. Safe travels, man. And y'all got to remember at all times, your Twitter fingers and the Mike's wheel are forever hot.